Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Awaken the weakest talent. I rejected the school flower. Chapter 1. Talent is the foundation. You students should know that there are thousands of talents in the world. Some are powerful, some are weak, but they are all superficial. Everything depends on whether it can evolve. Even if the talent is weak, if it can evolve, it can become powerful. Quote. On the podium, before awakening, the head teacher reiterated the importance of talent to the students. Chen Ang listened carefully below. As a transmigrator, even if he has already understood the situation of this world within a month after transmigration, he doesn't mind knowing more about it. In this world, talent is fundamental. This is a world of extraordinary powers. But all sources of power are talents. And from weak to strong, there is no need to practice. The only thing to do is to do everything possible to evolve his talent. Yes, evolution. The world is amazing. As long as you awaken your talent, you can constantly explore the characteristics of your own talent, then find materials that adapt to the characteristics, and refine it into a potion so that you can take it to evolve your talent. For example, if someone awakens the talent of frost and can control the power of frost, then after collecting materials to evolve, they can evolve into 9 nether frost, and they can continue to evolve. And many talents evolve more than one route. As far as ice talent is concerned, in addition to evolving into Juyu Frost, it can also evolve into Blazing Sun Frost. But every evolutionary route needs to be explored by the talented. Evolution is simple to say, but it is also very dangerous. Because it is necessary to carefully explore the characteristics, it is necessary to find materials that are at least 80% adaptable. After finding the materials, it is also necessary to accurately ensure the dosage of each material to make the medicine. The slightest difference can lead to evolutionary failure. Once evolution fails, it is more likely to cause damage to the original source of talent, making it impossible to evolve. So this is a world where talent is king. If someone awakens with a powerful talent at the beginning, but does not know the exact evolutionary route, or even cannot figure out all the characteristics, it is difficult to evolve successfully. However, when some people awakened with weak talents at the beginning, but had a known evolutionary route, they were able to catch up. All in this world, talent is very important, but what is really important is to be able to figure out the evolutionary route of your own talent. Chen Ang concluded in his heart. Today, the world already knows the evolutionary routes and required materials of many talents. But this was all worked out by countless seniors with painstaking efforts. There are many talents, and they don't know what materials to use to evolve. But at the moment, these are not what Chen Ang needs to consider. The only thing he has to consider is to appease his inner nervousness and hope that he can awaken his talent and succeed later. Yes, in this world, not everyone can become a gifted person. Someone has, someone didn't. Once the awakening fails, it is doomed to have no talent, and can no longer become a talent. I hope I can wake up successfully. Chen Ang thought so in his heart. Just at this moment, on the podium, the head teacher had finished telling what he was going to say, looked at the students who were already looking forward to it, and smiled. Okay, next, classmates and I will go to the awakening hall and prepare to awaken the talent. The words fell, and there was a sensation in the classroom. Ha ha ha, it's finally about to start. Why are you so happy? Aren't you afraid of failure to awaken? Gone, why do you say it? Can't you give me some confidence? No matter, I will definitely be able to awaken successfully, and I don't expect a powerful talent, I am satisfied with the power talent. Hey, I also want a talent for strength. The second stage evolutionary giant power, the third stage evolutionary dragon elephant power, and the fourth stage evolutionary diamond power, the future road has been written out. Anyway, if the awakening is successful, it is best to awaken the talent with the evolutionary route. Otherwise, even if you are awakened, if you cannot figure out the evolutionary route, the future will be slim. It's good to wake up, there are still so many requirements. That is, as long as you can awaken, you are a talented person, and you will have a lot of benefits in all aspects. Chen Ang is a little transparent in the class. So no one chatted with him. Chen Ang is happy with this, pure. A person walked behind with his head in his hands, and followed everyone out of the classroom to the awakening hall next to the teaching building. In addition to his own class, students from 2 other classes have already arrived and are waiting here. Anticipation and nervousness were written all over their faces. The awakening hall is very empty and does not look luxurious. The only striking thing is that in the center of the hall, there is a simple but lustrous stone tablet. There are no carvings and lines on the stone tablet, but it gives a mysterious feeling. This is the awakening stone tablet. Touch it, you can detect whether you have talent. If you have it, you can wake up. If you don't, you will fail. When all the students arrived, a male teacher next to the stone tablet didn't talk nonsense, and immediately took out the roll and said, "Whoever calls your name, walk up and start awakening." The first one, Zhang Wei. A boy with pimples on his face walked over nervously and tremblingly, raised his hand tremblingly, and touched the stone tablet of awakening. Everyone looked at it, looking forward to the result. The awakening steel lit up slightly, exuding a soft glow. But soon, the light became dim at a very fast speed. The male teacher calmly put a cross after Zhang Wei's name on the roll, and said, "Zhang Wei, the awakening failed, there is no talent." The teacher's voice made Zhang Wei open his eyes in disbelief, and his face suddenly turned pale. But the teacher remained calm. "Okay, let's go down and make room for the classmates behind." Next, Wang Li. The teacher continued to call out the name of the next classmate. For this scene, I am accustomed to it, without any emotional fluctuations. When a female classmate named Wang Li reached out and touched the awakening steel, she was just like Zhang Wei before. The steel lit up, but then dimmed again. The teacher's expression remained calm. Wang Li, the awakening failed. 2 failures in a row. The students who were still excited at first started to get nervous. Even Chen Ang was stunned. Lu Dao, the awakening failed. Li Fei, the awakening failed. Feng Boyu, the awakening failed. Lu Roizi, the awakening failed. Li Leiyao, the awakening is successful, the light of healing talent. When the first person to awaken successfully appears, everyone in the awakening hall looked over subconsciously, and they all showed envious expressions. The teachers also showed surprise in their eyes. Healing light, I rely on it, this is a good talent. Yes, although there is only a second stage evolutionary route, it is completely possible to evolve to the second stage, and then acquire new talents, and then focus on new talents. Li Leiyao, I remember it seems to be the school flower of our school, right? Really cute. Wana, ooh, the school flower boy Yan Yu is still a gifted person, I'm so envious. Yeah, the awakening was successful. Hearing the teacher's words, Li Leiyao opened her eyes, and after feeling the power in her body, she couldn't help but jump with her legs and let out a happy sound. His face was red with excitement, very cute. Yes, healing light is a very good talent, develop it well, let's go. Compared with the previous students, the male teacher's expression towards Li Leiyao was much kinder. No way, this is the treatment of the talented. Hearing the teacher's words, Li Leiyao obediently turned around and left. After returning to his seat, he immediately ushered in a burst of praise. But the expression on Li Leiyao's face was calm, without any fluctuations. Chen Ang looked back and took a deep breath, because he knew that it would be his turn soon. The teacher picked up the roll call, typed after Li Leiyao's name, and continued to read the name. Hua Haokong, the awakening failed. Zhan Tianyu, the awakening failed. Zhao Sibo, the awakening is successful, and the speed is talented. Tong Weikong, the awakening failed. Xiao Yiqing, successful awakening, whirlwind talent. Xie Kangning, the awakening is successful, the stone arm is talented. Quote. One name after another was called. Some people succeeded in awakening, but many failed in awakening. Successful, naturally happy and excited. Failure is pale despair. This is reality. It can be said that there is no longer a level of existence between those who failed to awaken and those who succeeded in awakening. Just getting nervous compared to everyone else. Chen Ang's eyes fell on the students who had successfully awakened, but his heart became more and more shocked. How is this going? Chen Ang was excited. In his line of sight, he could clearly see a line of prompts. The light of healing, evolutionary route, 2. 1. Natural light, you need materials. 1 gram of 5-color soil, 1 drop of tree ant blood, 1 colorful flower petal, and 1 milliliter of pure mountain spring water. 2. Holy light, required materials, a drop of griffin blood essence, soul dust of undead creatures x1. Speed talent, evolutionary route, 2. 1. Acceleration, required materials. 2. Godly speed, required materials. Whirlwind talent. Evolutionary roots. 3. Stone arm talent. Evolutionary roots. 4. Outrageous, far away. Can you see the evolutionary root of your talent and even all the materials you need? Could this be his gold finger as a traverser? Chen Ang's heart shook. What followed was immense ecstasy. But fortunately, Chen Ang was calm on the surface, but no one noticed the difference. But his breathing was still uncontrollably rapid. Although I was suspicious before. But when Chen Ang calmed down, he was sure that this was undoubtedly his gold finger. With this gold finger, as long as you can awaken your talent, no matter what talent it is, you can definitely become stronger. He was very nervous before, worrying about whether you can wake up successfully. What should I do if I worry that my awakened talent has no evolutionary root? But now, he is not afraid of anything. It took a while for Chen Ang to calm down completely. Just then, the teacher's voice sounded. Next, Chen Ang. Suddenly, Chen Ang felt that many eyes fell on him. Taking a deep breath, Chen Ang walked towards the awakening steel without any fluctuations, then reached out to touch the steel, and closed his eyes. At this moment, a mysterious feeling swept through the whole body. Originally it was pitch black after closing his eyes, but Chen Ang seemed to see a universe exploding in his eyes. Immediately afterwards, a force within the body slowly awakened and emerged. In my mind, two words clearly emerged. Dragon Claw. That's his talent, really. The teacher's voice sounded in his ears, with a hint of regret. Chen Ang has successfully awakened, and he has a talent for Dragon Claw. Chen Ang opened his eyes. The teacher's eyes looked over, sadly. Yes, your talent is very powerful, but the stronger the talent at the beginning, the more difficult it is to evolve. I hope you can explore the characteristics of your talent and find suitable materials to evolve successfully. This is not a lie. Dragon Claw is a powerful talent. It can be said that it belongs to a very strong talent from the beginning. The ability to turn the left or right arm into a dragon claw not only possesses powerful defensive power, but also possesses terrifying destructive power and penetrating power. Even hard rocks can be torn apart with one claws. But also because of this, it is very difficult to evolve. There have been many people who have awakened the talent of Dragon Claw, and they were invincible in the same rank. But in the end, it couldn't evolve no matter what, and there was nothing left for everyone. Therefore, in this era, there are many people who prefer that their talents after their successful awakening are ordinary talents. Because the more common, the better to explore the characteristics and find suitable materials. In this regard, Chen Ang smiled slightly and said, I'll try my best, teacher. After speaking, Chen Ang turned around and left. In the teacher's words, the left ear goes in and the right ear goes out. Just kidding, now Chen Ang doesn't need to care about this at all, okay. With gold finger, still afraid of unsuccessful evolution. Once back to your place. Chen Ang raised his right hand and felt his current strength. Strong. After the awakening is successful, it is equivalent to becoming a first-order talent. Awakened talent will feed back a force, which will greatly enhance the physique of the talent. Every time a talent evolves, it will be fed back. Under the urging of the dragon's claw, Chen Ang's right hand was visible with crimson dragon scales, which completely covered the right hand to the elbow. The area below the elbow is completely covered with dragon scales, and there are sharp dragon claws flashing on the 5 fingers. Just looking at it makes people subconsciously feel a chill behind their back, and feel a little scary. Chen Ang, I remember being a little transparent in the class, right? I didn't expect this guy to be able to wake up successfully. I'm so envious. You said that it's still too late to go up and start a relationship now. Ha 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 ha, there's no need for that at all. What if he wakes up? Although he can be said to be the strongest among the currently awakened talents, it can also be said to be the most rubbish. Locked in the first order realm for a lifetime. Indeed, the strongest is also the most rubbish. Oh, it's just shit luck. Some people are envious, others are jealous and sarcastic. The normal state of people, Chen Ang is used to it and doesn't care. The strongest and the worst. Ah, ignorance. A look of disdain flashed in Chen Ang's eyes, staring at his dragon claws, and sure enough, there was still a hint in front of him the next moment. Dragon Claw. Evolutionary Roots. 6. Hiss. There are so many evolutionary routes. Seeing the prompt in front of him, Chen Ang's heart shook again. Evolution Route 1. Fire Dragon Arm, required materials. 1 Fire-type Spirit Fruit, 3 drops of Fire-type Fierce Beast Blood Essence, 1 drop of Fire-type Yulong Heart Blood, and a Fire-type Yulong Scale. Evolution Route 2. Thunder Dragon Arm, materials required. Evolution Route 3. Wind Dragon Arm, required materials. Evolution Route 4. Dark Dragon Arm, required materials. Evolution Route 5. Light Dragon Arm, required materials. Evolution Route 6. Dead Dragon Arm, materials required. There are 6 evolutionary paths in total. After Chen Ang took a look, it became clear that although there are many evolutionary routes, they basically belong to different attributes. However, it is also for this reason that the evolutionary route must be chosen carefully. After all, after the evolution of different attributes, the power may also be different. Just like the light dragon arm, it has destructive power and should also have healing power. The thunder dragon arm should have a paralyzing effect. Dark dragon arm may have a corrosive effect. Others, Chen Ang is not clear. There are many evolutionary routes, but it makes Chen Ang tangled. If other people know this, I am afraid they will be envious and jealous. I don't know how many people don't know the evolutionary route of their talent. If they are known, I'm afraid they will be madly asking for such tangled troubles. Besides, the evolutionary materials are also very troublesome. Others are easy to say, but Yulong Scales and Yulong's Heart Blood, tisk. Chen Ang frowned. If he wanted to get these 2 materials, he would undoubtedly have to hunt Yulong. But Yulong is not weak, it is not something Chen Ang can solve now. Therefore, I am afraid to buy Cakesing. But both are not cheap. But I can see everyone's talent evolution route, and maybe I can make money from it. Thinking of this, Chen Ang's eyes flickered, and he had an idea in his heart. It's just that you have to think about it. This business can be done, but if it is not done well, it is easy to attract coveted. When Chen Ang touched his chin and thought alone, his awakening was almost over. There are nearly 160 students in 3 classes. In the end, there were only 13 successful awakenings. It has to be said that the probability is very small. After the awakening was over, the head teacher took the students back to the classroom and spoke. Successful awakened classmates, take your things and leave with me. Next, you will change classrooms. As soon as these words came out, Chen Ang immediately felt envious eyes falling on him. After the awakening is successful, it is naturally impossible to continue the class like ordinary students. Chen Ang knows this. Once the awakening is successful, the successfully awakened students will be gathered together to form a new class, specializing in combat skills, talent development, characteristic exploration and so on. Although there is still time to learn general knowledge every day, more time is spent on combat. When I came to the new classroom, I was assigned a seat and sat down. The head teacher stood on the podium, glanced at all the students, and spoke slowly. You are all awakened and successful students, and you will also be a gifted person in the future. As a gifted person, strength is the foundation. The college entrance examination is just around the corner. At that time, you need to perform well. Only in this way can you be valued and recruited by good universities. A good university for talented people can make you take a lot of detours and provide many rare resources. Of course, the school will also help you in this regard. The head teacher nodded on the desk, and then a virtual vote emerged. By the way, the technology in this world is still good, although it is not very developed. But after all, it is much more advanced than the Earth before crossing. After all, there is the help of talented people. According to the college entrance examination in previous years, this year's college entrance examination is not unexpected, but also in 2 aspects. One is actual combat, and the other is exploring the characteristics of talent. Because there is only 1 month left before the college entrance examination, you will have 2 weeks of free time for activities. During this time, the school hopes that you can take the initiative to go to the novice secret realm, fight with beasts, and gain practical experience. In the last week, the school will arrange a unified training for you, understand? The voice fell. All the students nodded in understanding. Seeing this, the head teacher nodded in satisfaction and said, Okay, in the next time, you can leave school or study by yourself. In addition to this, the school will also issue a resource volume. With the resource volume, each person can enter the school's warehouse and select a copy of evolution materials and ancient patterns. After speaking, the head teacher began to distribute the resource rolls. Chen Ang got his hands quickly, showing a look of anticipation. Resource volumes are a good thing. I just don't know if the school has the materials I need in its inventory. After getting the resource volume, Chen Ang immediately got up and went straight to the school inventory. It doesn't matter if there are no resources, but ancient patterns are still necessary. Ancient patterns can be understood as being able to comprehend skills from above. The ancient pattern comes from the body of the beast, which is extremely rare and depends entirely on luck. However, Chen Ang ran so fast. Because the ancient pattern has to be adapted to one's own talent to use it, and those who are not adapted can't learn it. Others may go after a while. But just a few steps out of the classroom, a figure caught up behind him. Chen Ang, can you wait a moment? Chen Ang looked back, it was Li Leiyao, and immediately became suspicious. Li Leiyao, what's the matter? He couldn't remember any intersection he had with the school's beauties. Li Leiyao stated his purpose straight to the point. Well, I plan to go to the novice secret realm tomorrow, but my talent currently only has healing ability and no fighting ability, so I want to ask if I can join you. Hearing this, Chen Ang looked suddenly, but then he shook his head and refused. Sorry, I'm used to acting alone, so I can't promise you. After speaking, Chen Ang turned and left. Li Leiyao looked surprised, looking at the back of Chen Ang leaving with surprise in her eyes. He didn't seem to expect that he would be rejected. After a moment of frowning, the brows quickly relaxed again. Although Chen Ang's rejection was surprising, she also understood after thinking about it. After all, Chen Ang has always been alone, and has no friends in the class. He has always been alone and has no interaction with himself. It is normal to reject himself. Shaking her head, she also intends to leave. But at this time, another voice sounded. Cut, isn't it just awakening a dragon claw? What's so arrogant? It's just a piece of shit luck, and maybe you can only die in one stage of your life. Xie Kangning sneered, walked over with disdain, and said gently. Liao, don't worry about that guy who is arrogant after awakening. What can he do even if he awakens Dragon Claw? I don't even know how to fight. It just so happens that I'm going to the secret realm tomorrow, shall we? No thanks. Li Leiyao refused without any hesitation. However, she seemed to think of something. She took a step and said to Xie Kangning with a calm expression. Xie Kangning, we don't know each other well, so please remember to call me by my full name. Besides, it's normal for Chen Ang to reject me. I'm taking the liberty and it has nothing to do with him. Done. Li Leiyao left without hesitation. On the other hand, Xie Kangning's eyes were gloomy and his face was blue. After clenching his fists for a while, he left with a cold snort. Get out of the classroom. Chen Ang went straight to the warehouse. The warehouse is a separate building. An old man guards the door, but no one dares to look down on it. Because this old man is a talented person, there have been rumors in the school, and he is also a third-order talented person. Just woke up. Seeing Chen Ang coming, the old man asked, obviously knowing the benefits of the new talent in the school. Yes. Chen Ang nodded, took out the roll and showed the old man a look. The old man nodded and said, okay, you can go in and choose a resource and an ancient pattern, but it's only limited to the first floor. Okay, I know. Chen Ang nodded and stepped into it. As soon as he entered, Chen Ang saw rows of shelves in front of him. On each shelf, there is the same item, and there is a brand with an introduction. Resource, antique, all kinds. Chen Ang was dazzled. Necro flower, corrosion beast fangs, light feather, flowering fruit, 5 colors of dust. Chen Ang just glanced at the ancient pattern. The ice dragon roars, tear claw, crazy charge, furious blow, flame vortex. Ancient pattern is a skill, and it depends on whether it adapts to one's own talent. Take Chen Ang's Dragon Claw, for example. Dragon Claw talent, unable to learn, Ice Dragon Roar, and Flame Vortex, skills related to elemental energy. But tearing claws and violent blows can be learned. More specifically, it depends on the characteristics. The more suitable the characteristics, the greater the power it exerts. However, the characteristics need to be explored. At present, Chang'an does not understand it. Of course, Chang'an didn't plan to pick out the ancient pattern that suits him immediately. However, when Chang'an's eyes fell on these ancient patterns, his heart shook again. Ancient Ice Dragon Roaring Pattern, Adaptability, 0. Tear Claw, Adaptability, 100. Crazy Charge, Adaptability, 70. This, my gold finger can still see features. Chang'an was startled. What followed was ecstasy. In this way, it is much easier for him to choose ancient patterns. But at first glance, it seems that only the Tearing Claw is the most suitable ancient pattern for my talent. There are not many ancient patterns on the first layer. But not much. It's just that there are not many people who are really suitable for Chang'an, and the most adaptable of them is the Tearing Claw. Therefore, after hesitating for a moment, Chang'an made a decision, directly chose Tearing Claw, then turned to leave, and returned to the door. After giving the old man a look at the ancient pattern of the Tearing Claw, the old man nodded and said, "Okay, you can choose another resource, and you can come back when you need it." Okay. Chang'an nodded and left. Back home, Chang'an is very deserted because of his orphan status, which is a must for travelers. The condition is not very good, except for the necessary furniture, it looks very empty. Chang'an was already used to it. He walked straight into his room, then picked up the ancient pattern and looked at it. The ancient pattern is like a skull, white as jade, and there are mysterious patterns on it. Different ancient patterns have different patterns. The ancient pattern in Chang'an's hand looks like a sharp claw, full of sharp-edged aura. If you want to feel it, you need to use your own mental power to touch the ancient patterns. But now Chang'an doesn't have much time, he has to prepare for entering the secret realm. So after a moment of hesitation, Chang'an put away the ancient patterns, and then took out all his savings to go out to buy supplies. Entering the secret realm is not the same day that you go in and come out the same day. Every time you enter or leave, you need to pay a fee, so most people stay in it for a few days at a time before leaving once, and Chang'an is no exception. He doesn't have much money to pay. After buying everything that should be bought, Chang'an's 10,000 yuan is not much, only 4,000 yuan is left. The sky also dimmed. After self-sufficiently cooked dinner, Chang'an sat cross-legged on the bed, familiar with his own strength and observing the ancient patterns. When the mental power and the ancient pattern came into contact, Chang'an seemed to see a huge and ferocious beast in front of him. It roared and swung out a claw, and it forcibly tore the earth apart, or torn apart. Terrible. And this scene is the only way to learn the skills recorded in the ancient pattern. Through observation, to analyze and learn. It's impossible to learn in a short time. It seems that you have to explore the characteristics of dragon claws first. Chang'an thought so. Characteristics are important. It can be understood as an entry attached to talent. As long as you figure out what the entry with your talent is, you can use it, activate it, and display all the power of your talent. Many skills require activation of innate characteristics in order to be successfully learned. As for the characteristics of dragon claws, Chang'an doesn't know much, and there is only one at present. Break armor. The attack formed by the dragon's claws can cause internal damage that penetrates the cortex, which is very powerful. This is what Chang'an saw in the book, a characteristic that someone once discovered after awakening the dragon's claw. And most importantly, if the characteristics of a talent are not fully explored and activated, they cannot be evolved. It's not difficult to activate the armor-piercing feature, just keep using the dragon's claws to penetrate the enemy's body, it just takes time. I just don't know what other characteristics are, and my gold finger, can I see what the characteristics of talent are? Chang'an pondered in his heart, after all, he just got gold finger, there should be some functions that have not yet been explored, and he needs to sink his heart to study. Time flies. The night passed in a blink of an eye. Chang'an had a good rest because he was going to the secret realm. I woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning. After breakfast, I set off with my backpack and went straight to the secret realm. There are many kinds of secret realms, which are full of opportunities and dangers. The novice secret realm that Chang'an is going to is the secret realm that has been tested by the strong, and it is very suitable for the newly awakened novice talent like him to enter. There is a chance, but not much. Also dangerous, but not lethal. Unless you seek death yourself. The entrance to the secret realm is a huge ancient tree. There is a gate that emits colorful rays of light on the ancient tree, which is the entrance to the secret realm. There were also soldiers guarding on both sides, checking the identities of those who entered. After the inspection, Chen Ang was released and paid a fee of 2,000 yuan as the fee for entering the secret realm. When he left, he also had to pay 2,000 yuan. Call. Looking at the gate of the secret realm in front of him, Chen Ang grinned and stepped into it with a look of anticipation in front of him. A sense of dizziness struck. When he opened his eyes again, there was already a lush ancient forest in front of him. One after another roar sounded from the ear. Vaguely, a huge figure can be seen flying past from a distance, exuding an amazing aura. Is this the secret realm? Chen Ang murmured, without fear or nervousness, but with a trace of enthusiasm. There is a fee to enter the secret realm. But still many people go. Because you can get a lot of materials in the secret realm and sell them for money. This is the easiest way to make money for the gifted. Call. Taking a deep breath, Chen Ang stepped forward and entered the ancient forest in front of him. As soon as I entered, a whoosh sounded. Immediately afterwards, a blazing fireball the size of a basketball suddenly struck, exuding high temperature. Chen Ang responded quickly and hurriedly rolled back to avoid the fireball. The fireball landed on the ground not far away, blasting a large pit out of the ground, exuding charred black. If this power falls on him, I am afraid that he will not die or be disabled. Chen Ang murmured in his heart, and looked at the attacking enemy. A glint of light flashed in his eyes. A lone wolf with fiery red hair and the size of a lion stood there. His green pupils stared at Chen Ang with greed, and saliva dripped from the corners of his mouth. Apparently taking Chen Ang as prey. Red fire wolf, this kind of breath, a first-order beast. Chen Ang revealed the identity and strength of this beast. The book says that the red fire wolf has a tuft of hair on its tail and a bone in the rib area that can be used as evolutionary materials. Hey, it's just in time. Chen Ang grinned excitedly. Roar. The red fire wolf roared, as if being provoked, opened its bloody mouth, and a fireball struck again. As the fireball blasted out, the red fire wolf burst out and rushed towards Chen Ang at full speed. The sharp fangs in its mouth seemed to bite off the flesh and blood of Chen Ang. But Chen Ang is very calm even if he has no combat experience. Once again, he rolled to avoid the fireball and even sneered in the face of the attacking red fire wolf. Court death. Hu Kai. I do not know when the right arm turned into a dragon claw. Chen Ang claws forward and swept away. The sound of breaking the air rang out loudly. Immediately after, the blood sputtered, and it fell directly to the ground. The dragon claws swept across the scarlet fire wolf's neck, and the sharp dragon claws and powerful force separated its neck by 3 openings almost instantly, and blood spurted out. The red fire wolf let out a painful low-pitched roar, his eyes became scarlet, and he was even more bloodthirsty, and he wanted to attack again. But Chen Ang moves faster. Die. With a roar, Chen Ang didn't give Chuo Wolf any time to react. Chen Ang waved his dragon claws, took a step forward and threw a punch, hitting Chuo Wolf's head with an explosion of strength. Bang! The head of the red fire wolf burst directly under this punch, and the red and white things were sputtered, and he died on the spot. Call. After a long sigh of relief, Chen Ang took out a sharp dagger from his backpack and began to dissect the body. A pinch of tail hair seems to cost 500 yuan. The price of Chuo bone is slightly higher, 600 yuan, which is not bad. After collecting the 2 materials, Chen Ang's eyes flashed with joy. Then he raised his head and looked forward, intending to continue exploring. Next moment, Chen Ang's eyes widened, and a shock appeared. Go straight, you can only encounter beasts. Yes, that's right, in this direction, there is an earth vein flower, which is not bad. There is a land of undead in this direction. Many dead souls have gathered yin qi and gave birth to a necromantic fruit, but there are undead beasts, please be careful. Don't look at it, let's change the route. There is a third-order vicious beast on this road looking for food. If you go there, you may die. No, you will definitely die. This is a new feature of Goldfinger. Chen Ang was overjoyed. Then meditate. Necro fruit. If I remember correctly, it seems to be one of the evolutionary resources of the dead dragon arm, and you can get it. But before you go, it's not bad to go and get the earth vein flower. Thinking of this, Chen Ang immediately walked in the direction of the earth vein flower. In the secret realm, there are many beasts. All the way. Not long after, another beast attacked from the side. It is a big piranha of a plant-type beast, but like a red fire wolf, Chang'e easily evaded the attack of the sneak attack, and then swept it with one claw, tearing it up and killing it directly. And also got a piranha vine, 500 yuan, not bad. With quickening his pace, Chang'e soon arrived at his destination. Is that the earth vein flower? Chang'e looked at a khaki flower in sight. Around this flower, there are many broken small stones, and the flowers and plants are much rarer. Earth vein flower is an elemental resource. I remember that the price of this resource is not low, and there is about 10,000 yuan. Tisk, this wave is good, and the harvest is rich. With a low grin, Chang'e lifted his foot forward. He just observed a circle, there is no danger. Before coming to the Leia flower, Chang'e squatted down and carefully reached out to touch the Leia flower, ready to pick it. Whoosh! A cracking sound rang out. Chang'e turned his head sharply. A cold light struck, Chang'e's body was tense, and he turned away without hesitation. Immediately after, his eyes were fixed on the figure walking slowly in front of him. Wearing a mask, he couldn't see his face clearly, but his eyes were filled with murderous intent and greed. Such a shape made Chang'e know the identity of the person in front of him. Wild hunter. Talented people who rely exclusively on the secret realm for a living, but in addition to collecting resources from the secret realm, this kind of person also likes to kill people and hunt for treasures. I'm lucky, I didn't expect to encounter a leyline flower not long after entering the secret realm. Boy, leave now, I can let you go, how about it? The man grinned and said, clenching his fists with both hands, which turned into a pair of iron fists at a speed visible to the naked eye, shining with metallic luster. Do you think I'll take your word for it? Chang'e sneered. Leave. The words of the hunters are not so easy to believe. If he really turned around and left as the guy in front of him said, I'm afraid Chang'e would be attacked the moment he turned around. Seeing this, the hunter's eyes flashed with disappointment, but then he sneered. It looks like you can only die here. Done. Whoosh. The hunter stepped out in one step, bursting out with a terrifying speed, and came to Chang'e in an instant, punching out. The iron fist was thick, and the power was absolutely terrifying. But the next moment, roll. Chang'e roared, his right arm turned into a dragon claw, and he clenched his fist without any fear and bombarded with the opponent's iron fist. A powerful force erupted. Even if it has only just become a talent, the dragon claw itself is a powerful talent in the same rank. The power of a punch made the look in the hunter's eyes change suddenly, as if he felt a huge impact, only to hear a click. The pain hit, and then he was directly blasted out and smashed on the ground. Superior. Dragon claw. He gritted his teeth and got up from the ground, his eyes dignified, and he recognized Chang'e's talent. But Chang'e didn't bother to answer at all. Whoosh. A cracking sound rang out. Chang'e had no intention of escaping at all, and burst out with full speed, and within a few breaths, he rushed to the front of the hunter and swept his claws, showing no mercy. The cold killing intent made the hunter look gloomy, and he subconsciously waved his fists. But even the iron fist turned into metal, under the sharp dragon claws, even cut a deep wound. There was blood spilled. A scream came from the hunter's mouth. Bang! The hunter was blasted out again. Chang'e looked indifferent, twisted his neck and made a crackling sound. So, who made you think you could beat me? His voice was cold. He stepped out and attacked again, not giving the hunters a chance to relax. Puff! A head flew up in the air, followed by blood and rolled to the ground. The hunter is dead. Chang'e sneered, waved his hand, and flung the blood from his paws. Then he squatted down and groped on the corpse of the hunter. It didn't take long for Chang'e to discover the surprise and couldn't help but be surprised. Hey, this is a space ring. The hunter's finger wears a black ring that seems to be ordinary. It was only when Chang'e took it in his hand and touched it with his gold finger that he realized that it was a space ring that could store things. There is not much space inside, only about 1 square meter. But for storage materials or something, it's enough. No wonder it's easy to get rich as a hunter, and it's true. Chang'e sighed, although it's just a space ring with little interior space. But when this thing is put on the market, it will cost at least 100,000 yuan to add it, and it is often too expensive. Too many people are fighting for it, and it is often robbed by people as soon as it appears. This guy, who is only a first order, can actually afford a space ring, and it is conceivable how many people he has killed. In the space ring, there are still some materials, the quantity is small, it should be just obtained not long ago, but it can be sold for 5 or 6,000 yuan. There is also a bank card, which should have the deposit of the wild hunter, but Chen Ang definitely can't get it. Wait, is this the blood of the skeletal leopard? Chen Ang suddenly let out a happy voice, and found what he wanted in the pile of materials of the wild hunter. There are 6 evolutionary roots for his own dragon claw, and the materials required for each evolutionary root are similar, but the attributes are different, and a total of 4 copies are required. The skeleton leopard can be said to be a beast of death, so its blood essence is one of the materials that belong to the dead dragon's arm. And it just so happens that there is a necromancer fruit in front of it, which is also one of the evolutionary materials of the dead dragon arm. And all the evolution materials of the death dragon arm are a death-type spiritual fruit, 3 drops of death-type beast blood essence, a death-type Yulong heart blood, and a death-type Yulong scale. In other words, if you get the necromancer fruit, you are only 2 materials away from the evolution of your talent. After all, there are 5 drops of bone leopard blood in the space ring. However, the remaining 2 materials are not easy to obtain. Thinking of this, Chen Ang took a deep breath and shook his head to make a decision. It doesn't matter, go and get the necromantic fruit first. Putting the backpack into the space ring, Chen Ang turned his head, carefully picked the leyline flowers and put them away together, then looked in the direction of the necromantic fruit, and ran quickly. 3 hours later, Chen Ang arrived at his destination. It should be here. Looking at the pitch-black soil and barren land in front of him, Chen Ang stopped. If nothing else, the front is the area of the undead fruit, and there will be many undead creatures. Although nothing can be seen on the surface, in fact, no life can hide wherever Chen Ang's sight passes. There are several skeleton soldiers hiding under the soil in this direction. Once they get close, they will break out of the ground, but please rest assured, they are very weak. Be careful in this direction, there is a ghoul hidden under the soil ahead, but if you are careful, you can easily kill it, and the necromantic fruit is in this direction. No danger. Have you seen the ruins? It comes from a ruin outside the realm, and there are good things hidden in it, so you need to search carefully. Anything good? Chen Ang was surprised, but calmed down immediately. After thinking for a while, he walked in the direction of the skeleton soldiers. Although the skeleton soldier has no good things here, he needs the enemy to train his hands and activate the armor break feature. Some features require the assistance of resources to activate. Some features can be activated as long as you fight. Sundering is the latter. When Chen Ang lifted his foot forward and stepped into this area, he felt that the temperature had dropped a lot, and there was an inexplicable discomfort. A few steps closer. Clap la la. The soil in front of it cracked, and then a white skeleton arm protruded out, supporting the ground and slowly crawling out. A skeleton soldier, some with bone knives in their hands, some with bare hands, and some with bone swords in their hands. The aura that exudes is all about the first order. It's okay, it's not a threat. Chen Ang murmured in his heart. Skeleton soldiers are not strong, even very weak, because the body has only one set of bones, and the bones are not strong enough. It's just that if you don't hit the weak point, you will be revived infinitely, so you need to pay attention. But for Chen Ang, the weakness has already surfaced. Have you seen the fire of the soul flashing in their eyes? Break their heads and they will die. Noticing the prompt in front of him, Chen Ang raised the corner of his mouth. Ho! The skeleton soldiers roared and charged towards Chen Ang, not too slow. A skeleton soldier waved a bone knife and slashed over with a smashing sound and erosive energy. Chen Ang reacted quickly, turned around and avoided it, then his right hand turned into a sharp dragon claw, and one claw swept away at the skull. The powerful destructive power is accompanied by a terrifying burst of power. Puff! The sharp claws swept across, causing the skull to smash directly. Clap la la! The remaining corpses suddenly fell to the ground as if they had lost their pillars. A skeleton soldier, easy to solve. 4 heads remain. Hukai! A cracking sound rang out. Another skeleton soldier attacked. After Chen Ang dodged calmly, he waved his claws again. After a skeleton soldier's head was torn apart, Chen Ang's movements did not stop at all, and continued to attack another skeleton soldier. The 5 skeleton soldiers, all solved in less than 2 minutes, turned into piles of bones and fell down. In the body of the skeleton soldier, I remember that a bone that can be used as a resource will occasionally be born, right? Chen Ang did not leave, but squatted down and searched among the bones. It's not just a random piece of bone in the beast's body, a piece of flesh and blood can be used as a material. But to observe, just like the pile of bones in front of Chen Ang at this moment, a bone suddenly flashed a light, and it was discovered by Chen Ang, and he immediately held it in his hand and made a sound of joy. Yes, there is one. Although the probability is very small, it is still a harvest. 500 yuan is available. Shiny, can be regarded as resources. If it doesn't count. Putting away the bones, Chen Ang got up and walked in the direction of the ghoul. The fight has to go on. Really, just like the skeleton soldiers just now. When Chen Ang just approached, the soil is cracked. Immediately after, a black figure rushed out, and with a disgusting rotten smell, it opened its bloody mouth and attacked. Ghoul, some are like the lickers in the Resident Evil movie, but they are slightly smaller, and they are covered with black scales. They feed on corpses, and they can breathe out corrosive liquids. Every fang on their body is filled with poison. Roll. Chen Ang snorted coldly, his right hand turned into a dragon claw, clenched into a fist, and punched out. Violence erupted. The ghoul was blasted away with a punch. Roar. The ghoul roared, and after being blasted away, it struck again, and a mouthful of purple liquid sprayed out. Chen Ang dodged immediately. The liquid fell to the ground and eroded the soil. If it falls on the body, it will lose its skin even if it doesn't die. Next moment, the ghoul even rushed over, and the black claws were swept with the poison, and the sound of breaking the air kept ringing. Chen Ang looked calm, took a step back, and swiped his paws across his neck. Immediately afterwards, Chen Ang seized the chance that the ghoul's attack failed, sneered, and stabbed the dragon's claws straight out. Puff! The dragon's claw hole pierced the ghoul's body. When Chen Ang withdrew his hand, there was a bloody hole in the ghoul's chest. Roar! The ghoul was still roaring, raising his claws to attack again. But just as it was lifted up, its vitality passed at an extremely fast speed, and its body suddenly fell to the ground, turning into a cold corpse. Chen Ang didn't rush to check whether there was any material in the ghoul, but looked at his dragon claws, his eyes twinkling. Is this broken armor? That's right. The armor-piercing feature is activated the moment it passes through the ghoul's body. After activation, Chen Ang clearly noticed that his dragon claws were slightly different. It is as if there is an invisible film covering it, and this film can penetrate objects. Very weird feeling. A bit like armed domineering. Chen Ang remembered an ability in the anime titled One Piece that he had watched before he crossed over. It is precisely because of this invisible film that when the dragon claws attack the enemy, even if the attack falls on the surface of the enemy's skin, this film will penetrate the enemy's skin and cause damage to the interior. Good. Although the activation is a bit sudden. But Chen Ang was still very excited. But then, we still have to continue to explore the second feature. Chen Ang thought to himself. Generally speaking, each talent has only one characteristic per stage. But there are 2 such powerful talents as Dragon Claw. If all features are activated, the gifted can detect it. As for what the second feature is, Chen Ang currently does not know. Shaking his head, Chen Ang was not in a hurry. After a thought made the dragon's claws disappear, Chen Ang squatted down and looked at the ghoul's corpse in front of him, ready to start dissecting it. In the body of a ghoul, there is a drop of corrosive blood that can be used as a material. With his mouth said, Chen Ang's hands are not slow. But unfortunately, what disappointed Chen Ang in the end was that there was no material born in this ghoul. Forget it, continue. Shaking his head, Chen Ang got up and continued forward. Both directions. One is the direction of the necromancer. One is the direction of the ruins. Chen Ang went to the direction of the necromantic fruit first, and soon found the target. A sapling that seems to be withered, bears a dark fruit on the sapling, and exudes a strong yin qi. This is the necromancer. After observing and seeing that there was no danger around, Chen Ang squatted forward and picked the necromantic fruit. Very good, only dragon scales and dragon blood are left. Chen Ang's tone was excited. Although I don't know where to get it. But Chen Ang has his own plans. One of these should be found in the school vault. The last remaining one can be considered to be obtained by helping others identify the evolutionary route. After thinking about it, Chen Ang got up and left. The location of the ruins is not far from the necromancer. When Chen Ang came here, looking at the ruins in front of him, he couldn't help raising his eyebrows. I heard that the existence of the secret realm is extremely mysterious, and everything in it may come from other worlds, including ruins. You can even discover the ruins and treasures of other worlds in the secret realm. I don't know what's in here. Between the words, Chen Ang was not slow. With a wave of his right hand, it turned into a dragon's claw and immediately digged up. Here, at this location, digging. Continue without stopping, there are still 2 meters. Add more force, and there is only 1 meter left. It's almost dug, be careful not to damage it. Looking at the prompts that kept appearing in front of him, Chen Ang slowed down his movements and strength, and digged carefully. Finally, when Chen Ang waved his claws again to dig up a piece of dust, he only heard a ding sound in his ear. Then, an iron box with metallic luster appeared in front of Chen Ang. It should be this. Chen Ang's eyes lit up, and he immediately picked up the iron box and held it in his arms to examine it carefully. Exquisite iron box. There are some exquisite patterns on it. There is a dead lock. Although there is no key, under the sharp dragon claws, Chen Ang just swiped and the lock was broken. With anticipation, Chen Ang opened the box, and the contents appeared in front of him. It's a potion with a blue liquid. Potion, what's the use? Chen Ang frowned. With a thought, a reminder appeared in front of him. A bottle of medicine from a certain high-tech world. As long as you are still human, you can take it. It can help you strengthen your body without any side effects. Strengthen your physique. Seeing the introduction in front of him, Chen Ang was suddenly surprised. Then came joy. In this world, some natural treasures can not only be used as evolutionary resources, but also can be used by talented people themselves, so as to make themselves stronger. It's just that the kind of natural treasures are rare and expensive, and Chen Ang has never seen them before. Although the potion in front of him is not considered a treasure of heaven and earth, it has the same effect. I didn't expect that it was the first time I came to the secret realm, and I could encounter such a good thing. Perhaps it is also related to the laws of the secret realm. Chen Ang murmured, remembering some of the knowledge he had read in the book before. Mysteries are not set in stone. Perhaps the beast remains the same, but the environment and buildings, etc., may change. Maybe walking in the secret realm, a ruin suddenly fell from the sky. This is a normal thing. Perhaps the ruins fell down these days. Thinking of this, Chen Ang took the medicine, opened it carefully, and took it in one mouthful. The medicine swallowed into the mouth is like hot magma entering the body along the throat, making the body feel scorching hot. Under this feeling, Chen Ang clearly felt that his body was improving. Cool. With both hands clenched into fists, Chen Ang couldn't help but sigh subconsciously. Punch out. The sound of breaking the air exploded. The feeling of lifting fades quickly. But Chen Ang could sense that his physical attributes had increased by at least half. Very scary. To know that the Dragon Claw is a powerful talent. Then match the physique of Chen Ang today. This increase in combat power is not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. Suddenly, Chen Ang seemed to have discovered something, his eyes flashed brightly, and his heart shook. This is Chen Ang. Body, 23 pull, 100. Force, 24 pull, 100. Min, 24 pull, 100. Fine, 31 pull, 100. Talent, Dragon Claw. Characteristic, armor breaking. P.S. The average attribute limit of ordinary people is 10. This is my property. Chen Ang was surprised. This is just discovered. Because his strength had just improved, suddenly there was an idea in his mind that he wanted to intuitively understand his strength. Then this scene emerged. So, this is another function of my gold finger. Chen Ang murmured. Properties panel. Interesting. The 4 attributes are clear at a glance. However, the content in the parentheses later, Chen Ang understood after thinking for a while. It is not a property of its own limits. It is a first-order limit property. In other words, first-order talents, all attributes can only reach 50 points at most. It's already scary. After all, the limit for ordinary people is only 10 o'clock. 10 times the gap. When it converges in a human body, the moment it bursts out, the power formed is far greater than 10 times. But, Chen Ang frowned, rubbing his chin and thinking. If the first order limit attribute is 100 points, then according to the past situation, I am afraid that there are not many people who really reach the limit attribute. There are many talented people, but once they have the evolutionary materials and activate the characteristics, they will directly evolve their talents and enter the second order. There are even some talented people who are lucky enough to enter the second tier just 2 weeks after becoming a talented person. It is clear that the limit property cannot be reached. This made Chen Ang a little confused. Could it be that the best choice is to reach the limit attribute and then evolve the talent? If not, why does the system list this? And the parentheses after my talent are the characteristics of dragon claws. In addition to breaking the armor, there is a question mark. Should it be another characteristic? After thinking for a while, Chen Ang still couldn't figure it out. Therefore, Chen Ang is too lazy to waste time on this. It's a big deal. Wait until you reach the limit attribute and then try to evolve and you'll know. After all, it will take some time for him to gather the materials. By the way, can I also learn about my characteristics through prompts? Chen Ang suddenly thought of this question, his eyes lit up, and he wanted to try it with some anticipation. Therefore, looking at his dragon claws, the word characteristic came to mind, and then Chen Ang's heart moved. As predicted, a new prompt emerges. Soak dragon claws with ordinary yulong blood for 10 minutes every day for 3 days to activate characteristics. Really, despite this speculation, Chen Ang couldn't help but get excited when he saw the prompt in front of him. After being excited, he rubbed his chin and thought. But I didn't expect that the activation of the new features requires dragon blood soaking. But fortunately, it just needs ordinary yulong blood, which is much easier than heart blood. Ordinary yulong blood is not considered evolutionary material. If you really want to buy it, you can buy it in the market, but at most the price is not cheap. But Chen Ang felt that when he left the secret realm, he should be able to gain a lot. Shaking his head, Chen Ang's thoughts moved slightly, all the prompts disappeared, and then he looked further away, ready to continue exploring. There is nothing in this direction, only one beast after another. It is still a beast, but there are 2 materials born in the body. If you don't dislike it, you can go. This direction is amazing. Under the soil 2 kilometers away, there is a remnant of a tree of enlightenment buried under the soil. It fell from other worlds many years ago and has never been discovered. After reading the previous direction, you should know what choice to make, or do you want to choose the Senkei Liuhuang soil in this direction? Remnant leaves of the enlightenment tree. Liuhuang soil. Chen Ang was short of breath. It is good to say that Liuhuang soil is one of the materials of a kind of soil, but the price is not low. A piece is 5,000 yuan, and 3 grams is 15,000. But the remnants of the Taoist tree were true, so Chen Ang didn't expect it. There is such a good thing in a novice secret realm. What is the tree of enlightenment? That's a really good thing to enlighten people. It is said that the fruit of the enlightenment tree only needs one, and even the rules can be comprehended. It is a real treasure. Although this is the remnant leaf of the enlightenment tree, it must have a similar effect to the fruit of the enlightenment tree. Even if the effect is not that strong, as long as there is an effect, it is enough. Although the remnants of the enlightenment tree are very attractive, the Liuhuangtu can't be spared. I want them all. Chen Ang thought in his heart, and immediately walked towards the remnant leaves of the enlightenment tree. In the case of Liuhuang, you can only go back a little first, and then go later. Speed up all the way. 2 kilometers may take a lot of time for ordinary people. But for Chen Ang, when running at full speed, a quarter of an hour is up. When he arrived, Chen Ang was a little out of breath, but he recovered quickly. Glancing across the front, Chen Ang's expression condensed slightly, and he found the enemy. A giant python is hovering in the grass ahead. Although it is hidden, the vision of the talented person can still easily find it. Cyan scales, purple fangs. This is a blue scale python. In addition to being highly poisonous, it can also condense rattan attacks. Fortunately, it's only first order. Fortunately, this is in the novice secret realm. Chen Ang murmured and breathed a sigh of relief. The reason why the novice secret realm is called the novice secret realm means that most of the beasts in it are not too strong. When Chang'an noticed the blue-scaled python, the green-scaled python naturally also noticed Chang'an. Sigh. It uttered the snake letter and made a hissing sound, as if to warn Chang'an to let him go. Chang'an was unmoved, and even raised his foot and took a step forward. Whoosh! The sound of breaking the air suddenly sounded. Green-scaled python's body can be seen with green energy condensed, and thick vines have condensed on the left and right sides. Roll! With an angry shout, Chang'an burst out and rushed towards the giant python. At the same time, the dragon claw appeared in his right hand, swept down with one claw, and the rattan that came from the whip was directly cut off. Hiss! The blue-scaled python roared, opened its bloody mouth, and the poisonous fangs sprayed out. Facing the venom, Chang'an didn't dare to resist, he stopped and turned to dodge. The blue-scaled python is very smart. Seizing this opportunity, the sturdy tail whips out. But it's fine if it's venom. Tail, Chang'an just wasn't afraid of this. There was no idea of evasion. Chang'an suddenly raised his right arm in front of him. Boom! The tail whipped over and bombarded Chang'an's right arm and wrist. The powerful force made Chang'an grin and feel a sharp pain. But that's about it. It's my turn. Chang'an grinned and made a cold sound. Before the giant python could retract its tail, he suddenly grabbed his right paw, grabbed the blue-scaled python's tail, and slammed it behind him. Come here for me, Chang'an yelled. With the explosion of all the strength, the body of the blue-scaled python was pulled over forcibly, slammed over the top of the head, and smashed the ground behind him like a shoulder-to-shoulder fall. Boom! The ground seemed to vibrate slightly. Dust rises. The blue-scaled python let out a painful scream. But before the dust dispersed, the blue-scaled python swept its tail again while suffering severe pain. Wherever he passed, even the trees that were not too thick were swept away. Good come. Chang'an grinned, his dragon claws swung, and he punched out. Directly blast the tail that swept away. Immediately afterwards, Chang'an stepped out and stepped into the dust. The giant python opened its bloody mouth and attacked. Chang'an clenched his fist with his right hand, avoiding the stench-smelling mouth, and then punched the python's upper jaw. The powerful force slammed the python's head into close contact with the ground. Even smashed a small pothole. Roar! The pain sounded again. Chang'an didn't miss this opportunity, and after heaving a sigh of relief, there was a glint in his eyes. Then the sharp dragon claws in his right hand came together, like a straight and sharp long sword, stabbing straight at the python's head. Puff! When Chang'an raised his hand, blood spattered out. The blue-scale python's head was directly pierced by Chang'an. Perhaps it wasn't dead yet. The python's body was twisting and shaking frantically because of the pain, and even wanted to attack Chang'an again. But the moment his head was just raised, Chang'an threw a punch. Boom! The blue-scaled python's head was blasted into the ground. Blood spurted out again, but this time, the body of the blue-scaled python completely quieted down, turning into a gradually icy corpse. It's rough and thick, and it's quite troublesome to solve. Chang'an murmured, and after flicking the blood from his right hand, he squatted down and carefully observed the body of the blue-scaled python. The place where the blue-scale python can be used as a material is the scales. Soon, Chang'an found the location of the gleaming glossy scales, 7 inches from the blue-scale python. It's another 500 yuan. Chang'an tore off the scales and smiled happily. Since entering the secret realm, the sky will begin to dim. But his gains were not small. At least 20,000 to 30,000 yuan in income. It can only be said that a wave of riches is good. But this is also thanks to my gold finger, otherwise it is only a few thousand pieces at most. Next, is the remnant leaves of the enlightenment tree. That's the big game. His eyes swept across the ground, and with the help of the prompt, Chang'an quickly determined the location and began to dig carefully. Because it is just a stubbed leaf, it will be damaged if you are not careful, so you must be cautious and cautious. After digging for about half an hour, Chang'an finally picked up a leaf that was stained with soil but showed a very clear blue color. The leaves are the size of a palm and have gaps. But as expected from the tree of enlightenment, Chang'an in his hand can clearly smell a faint breath on the leaves, which is refreshing and refreshing at the same time. This is the remnant leaf of a tree of enlightenment. Although it is a remnant leaf, it is enough for you to drink it after soaking it in water. Do you drink water? Chang'an nodded slightly, Just at this time, after getting the Liuhuang soil, it was time to find a place to rest for the night. After putting the remnant leaves of the enlightenment tree into the space ring, Chen Ang thought for a while, and turned his right hand into a dragon claw and swung abruptly at the corpse of the blue-scaled python. The corpse was divided into 2 parts, and the second half was put away by Chen Ang, ready to be used as ingredients for dinner. Then Chen Ang was about to go to Liuhuangtu. The location of Liuhuangtu arrived soon after Chen Ang flew all the way. At this time, the sky started to get dark. It should be here. Chen Ang's eyes searched for the ground beneath his feet. Yes, don't look at it, it's under the soil in front of you. Looking at the prompt in front of him, Chen Ang raised the corner of his mouth and began to dig. Soon, a pinch of glass-like soil was found by Chen Ang. Putting it into the space ring, Chen Ang began to plan to find a suitable place to spend the night. But at this time, the sound of treading footsteps sounded. Chen Ang looked back and frowned slightly, but he was not too vigilant. After all, these footsteps are clearly exposed, and they should not be those hunters. As the footsteps approached, a figure in a black robe entered Chen Ang's field of vision. Before Chen Ang could speak, he introduced himself directly. Well, don't be nervous, Your Excellency, I'm an intelligence merchant, specializing in selling intelligence. Intelligence merchant. A look of surprise flashed in Chen Ang's eyes, which he really didn't know. Yes, he nodded and explained with a smile after keeping a safe distance from Chen Ang. A lot of people come to the secret realm, isn't it, just to look for materials? It's hard to say, but if the beast is concerned, the area of the branch can still be found. But the secret realm is not small. Some people enter the secret realm and want to find what they need. Most of the ferocious beast materials take several days. What we sell is this kind of information. Us. Of course, this kind of information cannot be obtained by only one person. Is that so? Hearing this, Chen Ang nodded, but he agreed very much. The scope of the secret territory is not small. If only one person gets this kind of information, he will definitely lose money. But it's hard to say what a group of people say. Intelligence is exchanged, and intelligence is sold in different areas at the same time, and it will not lose money. You should be a newcomer, right? He asked with a smile. Chen Ang nodded. How do you know? Haha, it's normal. He touched the nose under the black robe and said, after all, our intelligence merchants are actually quite famous. Basically, we can be seen in every secret realm, not just this secret realm. There are other secret realms. Certainly. The intelligence businessman nodded and asked with a smile. How do you want to buy a piece of information? Chen Ang thought about it carefully, and suddenly his eyes lit up. What information do you have? That's naturally impossible, only the information of the beast. Treasures from heaven and earth, relics, etc., we can't do it if we want to. After Chen Ang thought about it carefully, he felt it was right. If he did things like ruins, Chen Ang felt that he wouldn't be able to see this intelligence businessman today. Pretending to be guilty, Chen Ang asked, ferocious beasts or fierce beasts? I want to know, are there dragon beasts in this secret realm? Dragon beast. The intelligence businessman heard the words, took out a pamphlet and flipped through it, then quickly raised his head and said back and forth. If you're looking for a sub-dragon or a giant dragon, of course there isn't one. But if it's just an ordinary dragon beast, let alone 2 places. But the price is not low, and you should be buying our information for the first time, so I have to make it clear to you first. Once we buy our intelligence, it cannot be passed on to others. Chen Ang nodded and had no opinion. That's fine, what's the price? He doesn't care about that. As long as the information is true. The so-called dragon beast is the kind of fierce beast that has the blood of a giant dragon in its body, but it is not enough to reach the level of a dragon. This kind of beast is not weak, but it is not strong. It just so happens that their blood can also be used as the material for the activation of the second characteristic of Chen Ang's dragon claws. The intelligence businessman raised 3 fingers and said, 2 positions, because they are dragon beasts, the price is 3,000 yuan, a total of 6,000 yuan, how? Do you want to buy them all? It's expensive. Oh, time is money. Fine. Chen Ang nodded helplessly, took out 3 materials, including 1 gram of Liuhuang soil and 2 materials of about 500 yuan, and asked. This thing, okay. Material, yes, the price is about the same. The intelligence businessman nodded. After receiving the materials, he immediately told Chen Ang the location of the two pieces of intelligence. One is in this direction. There is a big mountain about 10 kilometers away, and there are dragons and wolves in the mountain. There is another one in this direction, about 14 kilometers, in the mountain area, there is a dragon eagle. At the end, the intelligence businessman reminded. But after all, it is a dragon beast, and the number may not be many. You'd better go as soon as possible, because maybe we will sell the information to others, although there may not be many people in this secret realm who need this information. Okay, I see. Chen Ang nodded. After getting the information and remembering the location, I was ready to leave. Before leaving, Chen Ang remembered an important question. By the way, how do I determine whether the information is true or false? Please rest assured, the credibility of our intelligence businessman is still guaranteed. The intelligence businessman took out a business card with a string of earls on it, handed it to Chen Ang, and said, "If you leave the secret realm, you can go here and have a look. Every intelligence we sell has a detailed video and time of the intelligence source to be confirmed. If the intelligence is wrong, we will pay tenfold." Taking the business card, Chen Ang nodded. "Okay, see you then." After that, Chen Ang left. The night is getting darker. He had no intention of going by night. Although it is a novice secret realm, the beasts in it are not only first order. There are also second and third orders. Just not as many. But most of the beasts would come out for food at night. Chen Ang didn't want to die. What if you are unlucky? Or find a place to spend the night is better, just hungry. After searching for a while, Chen Ang didn't find a suitable place, so he simply waved his dragon claws, hollowed out a big tree to form a tree hole, and hid in it. And a bonfire was built inside, and the snake meat was roasted. At the same time, he also boiled a pot of hot water for himself, preparing to make tea with the remaining leaves of the enlightenment tree. The water is boiling and the meat is not cooked. Chen Ang was not in a hurry, took out the remnant leaves of the enlightenment tree, cleaned up the dirt on it, put it into the cup, and poured hot water. Then, Chen Ang took out the ancient pattern. Call. He exhaled at the hot tea in the cup, as if to cool down. Then Chen Ang drank the tea in one gulp. Although it is still hot, Chen Ang is a gifted person after all and is within the tolerance range. And after drinking the tea brewed from the remnant leaves of the enlightenment tree, Chen Ang suddenly felt a lot clearer. There is an inexplicable feeling. Under this feeling, Chen Ang felt that he was easily caught in thinking as if he was looking at anything. It is recommended that you do not waste time, because the effect is only 1 hour. A prompt appears in front of you. Seeing this, Chen Ang didn't dare to waste time, and quickly picked up the ancient pattern. His spiritual power burst out, and he touched it. The familiar scene reappeared in front of him. The giant beast waved its claws and tore apart the mountains. When the previous Chen Ang watched this scene, he only felt the power was terrifying, but he didn't have any understanding. But now, in Chen Ang's eyes, this scene has brought him inspiration and enlightenment. I see. Tear Claw, if you learn it as a skill, different talents will have to be changed in learning. And the Dragon Claw talent wants to learn to tear the claw, the superposition of strength, and the timing of the outbreak must be improved. Especially the control of power needs to be very delicate. At the moment of display, the power should be gathered on the 5 claws, and it will explode at the moment of contact with the enemy, forming a destructive force and tearing everything apart. And as a skill, Tearing Claw is a kind of augmentation skill. It is not only powerful, but also has the ability to increase strength. Chen Ang kept mumbling to himself. The eyes flickered. While repeatedly touching the ancient pattern, learn to tear the claws. One right hand turned into a dragon claw, subconsciously trying to cultivate. The ferocious dragon claws, under Chen Ang's repeated waves, caused the sound of breaking the air again and again. During this period, Chen Ang constantly adjusted the posture and position of the 5 claws. Also trying to use power. Failed again and again. Try again and again. It's like you don't give up until you succeed in cultivation. Chen Ang didn't even notice when the snake meat had already been roasted and exuded an attractive fragrance. Instead, he was completely immersed in the practice of tearing claws. The dragon claws waved, and Chen Ang tried again. Suddenly, swish, a piercing sound rang out. It sounded like thunder. A cold light flashed across the sky. The dragon's claw seemed to contain a terrifying blow that erupted. It is a pity that no real object was hit, so it is impossible to judge the exact power. But Chen Ang's eyes lit up at this moment and made a happy voice. Success. The dragon claw waved again. This time, Chen Ang felt more clearly. At the moment of swinging, in addition to the powerful destructive power of the tearing claw itself, the power has also been increased. Equivalent to, about doubled. That is to say, in this blow, Chen Ang's strength attribute was originally 24 feet, but it was able to explode with a power equivalent to 48 feet. This is skill. So strong. Chen Ang looked excited. The learning of skills usually takes a lot of time. Ordinary talents usually need a week or two to get started. And the skills acquired yesterday, learned today. It can only be said that it is indeed the remnant leaves of the enlightenment tree, and it is really powerful. A move in my heart. His own attributes emerge in front of his eyes. Compared to before, the properties this time have changed. But it made Chen Ang even more excited. Chen Ang. Body, 23, pull, 100. Force, 24, pull, 100. Min, 24, pull, 100. Fine, 31, pull, 100. Talent, Dragon Claw. Characteristic, armor breaking. Skill, Tearing Claw. Entry level, you need to improve your proficiency. Golem. This is. Look at the introduction of the skills that appear at the bottom of your attributes, as well as the content in parentheses after the skills. Chen Ang couldn't help but widen his eyes, his face full of shock. The content in parentheses is simple. It's a way to increase your proficiency. Skills are not fully mastered once they are learned. Learning, just getting started. Skill proficiency is divided into several levels. Beginning, proficient, perfect, complete. 4 levels. The higher the proficiency level of the skill, the more powerful the explosive power will be. If the entry-level Tearing Claw is double the strength, then the proficient level is 1.5 times, and the perfect level is twice as much. And the perfection level is 3 times as high. In general, it is difficult for a talent to reach the perfection level with a skill. It can be said that even 1 year of practicing only this skill is not enough. It also requires sufficient understanding. But Chen Ang felt that he should not need a year. Maybe not for half a year. Not to mention the perfection level. If I can raise the proficiency of the Tearing Claw to the proficient level during the college entrance examination, I am afraid it will shock the audience. The corners of Chen Ang's mouth twitched softly, and his eyes flashed with anticipation. Chapter 11. After dinner, drink tea. After Chen Ang put out the bonfire, he slowly fell asleep with his back against the wall in the tree hole. The next day, the sun rises. Chen Ang woke up from his deep sleep, washed and had breakfast, and set off. Prepare to go to the Dragon Wolf first, by the way, to see if there is any material to pick up along the way. Don't look, change direction, I have never seen such a poor place. In fact, I think your luck today may not be very good, and then change direction. Oh, I take back the above sentence, I think your luck is still good. There is a blood python in this direction that has just swallowed the treasures of heaven and earth. The medicinal power has not yet been refined. Killing it and swallowing python blood can enhance your physique. Except for a group of fierce beasts, there is nothing to see. Blood python. Chen Ang's eyes flickered, he licked his lips, stepped out and ran away. The blood python vicious beast is a python with blood-colored scales. It has a strong defense and can spray bloody water with acid corrosion, which can melt even hard rocks. But as long as his strength does not exceed Tier 2, Chen Ang feels that he can give it a try. After running wildly, Chen Ang quickly arrived at his destination. This is already a plain, and there is a big mountain in the distance, which is the area of Dragon Wolf. In front of Chen Ang, after searching with his eyes, he found a small raised hill on the plain. Taking a closer look, there is a dark cave under the hill, and a huge creature is resting in it, that is the blood python. Call. Fortunately, it's only the first order. Chen Ang's eyes flickered, and he lifted his foot. As if feeling Chen Ang's breath, the blood python in the cave opened its eyes, slowly stuck out its head to reveal the snake letter, and made a hiss sound to Chen Ang, and let Chen Ang leave as a warning. But how could Chen Ang leave? In a few steps, he reached the entrance of the cave, stared at the blood python, kicked it with his foot, and a stone was kicked and hit the blood python's head. As if being provoked, the blood python let out an angry neigh, then opened its bloody mouth and spurted out a mouthful of blood. Chang'an dodged quickly. The blood falls to the ground, corroding the soil. When he turned to look at the blood python, the fierce beast had already climbed out of the hole, coiled around his body high, and then swam quickly. It's good, I'll take the initiative to attack. Chang'an grinned and sneered, his whole body tense. When the distance between the two sides was less than 2 meters, the blood python's tail twitched suddenly, and it swept along with the sound of breaking the air. Roll! Chang'an threw a punch without any fear. The dragon's claws appeared, and the 5 claws were clenched into fists. Boom! The tail of the blood python was blown away. But then, the blood python spurted out a mouthful of blood again. Chang'an frowned slightly and quickly avoided it. The blood python seized the opportunity, opened the big mouth of the blood basin, and bit towards Chang'an's head. The stench came out, making people sick. Court death. Chang'an sneered, his speed was fast, and after one jumped sideways to avoid the huge mouth of the giant python, he punched from the side and hit the giant python's head directly. Violence erupted. The body of the python was blasted out immediately, smashing the ground into a big hole. Chang'an never misses this opportunity. Before the blood python crawls out of the pit, it has already rushed to the side. Looking at the blood python, he immediately released his fist and swept his claw. Tear claws. Hanmang appeared, and he snorted. Terrible power on display. Hiss. With the sound of the blood python's painful sound, the body of the blood python was easily torn apart by a deep wound, almost splitting the body in two. The power of the tearing claw itself, coupled with the armor-piercing feature, made the blood-colored scales on the blood python have no effect at all. The blood continued to diffuse, exuding a medicinal fragrance. Not dead yet. Tisk, you can't waste this blood. Chang'an murmured. This blood contains the medicinal power of heaven and earth treasures, and every drop that flows out is wasted. Sigh. The blood python growled. He was in great pain because of the injury, and he opened his bloody mouth and attacked Chang'an frantically. Roll. Chang'an threw a punch, sending the blood python's head flying. Immediately after that, he waved his paw again. Tear claw erupts. Puff. Blood splashes. This claw, Chang'an did not have the slightest reservation. The terrifying power split the blood python's head in two. With a bang, the blood python fell to the ground and died directly this time. Without wasting time, Chang'an grabbed the corpse of the blood python, pointed his mouth at the wound, and swallowed the blood that flowed out. When the blood entered the body along the throat, a burning sensation emerged and swept the body. Just like taking the potion before. Under this feeling of dryness, Chang'an began to clearly feel that his physical attributes began to improve. Blood kept being swallowed by Chang'an. The fiery feeling lasts. A quarter of an hour later, Chang'an wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and after refining the medicinal power in his body, he grinned with a satisfied smile. Good. Fortunately, I came in time. If I waited for this blood python to refine this medicinal power, I might not be an opponent. Really refining this medicinal power for the blood python, it is not a problem for the blood python to reach the second rank by then. No nonsense. Chang'an raised his eyes, looked at the mountains ahead, and accelerated his pace. On the plains, dust moves with the wind. Going forward at full speed, Chang'an soon reached the foot of the mountain. As soon as he entered the mountain, Chang'an frowned, and a bad premonition suddenly rose. Next moment, a smashing sound rang out, hitting Chang'an's neck directly. Without any hesitation, Chang'an quickly jumped back to avoid the blow. Then look in the direction of the attack. A figure is standing on a lush ancient tree at the moment, covering his body with lush branches and leaves, and the top view of his body is similar to the existence of auspicious clothes, so it is no wonder that Chang'an did not notice it at the first time. Seeing Chang'an dodging his sneak attack, the figure fell from the tree and sneered. Why, wouldn't it be better to kill me directly? You have to waste my time. Desert hunter. Chang'an frowned tightly, a killing intent flashed in his eyes. These hunters are really troublesome. Hey, it's good to know. The wild hunter smiled and said coldly. I don't want to waste time, hand over all the materials on your body, and I may let you go. Whoosh. The words are not over yet. A cracking sound rang out. Chen Ang burst out and attacked the wild hunter with a terrifying speed. At this speed, the hunter's pupils shrank suddenly. He subconsciously raised his hand to aim at Chen Ang, and a laser shot out. Tear claws. Chen Ang roared in his heart, and the dragon claws appeared and waved. Puff. Under the terrifying power, this claw actually ripped the laser apart abruptly, and then landed on the hunter. Boom. The hunter flew out and smashed heavily on a tree. On its chest, the flesh and blood were ferocious, and the deep wound even tore the bones inside, and the blood kept dripping. There was even more panic in his eyes. I really don't know who gave you the courage. Chen Ang came coldly. Looking down at the pale and immobile hunter, he waved his dragon claws coldly. Blood splashes. A head takes off and falls to the ground. The hunter is dead. His head fell to the ground like a ball, and was kicked away by Chen Ang. Then Chen Ang squatted down and groped on the corpse of the hunter. But unfortunately, this hunter does not have a space ring. There was only one small bag on him. In the small bag, there are 2 bones of about 500 yuan, a bank card, and a map. There is no need to think about the bank card, the money in it cannot be obtained. It's a map that records the location of a ruin in the secret realm. There are treasures in it, but there are second-order puppet guards. I advise you not to go now. Your strength is too weak and you will die. Remains. Chen Ang's eyes lit up, and he immediately looked at the location recorded on the map seriously. Soon, Chen Ang determined the location situation. It seems not far from here, but it is in the ground. I don't know if this guy's map is his own, or he grabbed it from someone else, but it's mine now. A relic. I have to say I was lucky. The first time I entered the secret realm, I got a lot of good things, and I even knew the location of the ruins. But unfortunately, he can't go now. Second-order puppet. I should not be an opponent now. At least I have to increase the proficiency of the tearing claw by 1 level and activate the second characteristic of the dragon claw. Puppets are not unexpectedly products of other worlds. But since he has reached the 2nd rank, no matter what, he is definitely not an opponent now. Maybe this hunter has already been there, but maybe he left because of the puppet's strength. Collect dragon blood first, activate the second characteristic, then leave the secret realm to collect evolutionary resources, raise the level of the tearing claw, and then consider going to the ruins. After thinking for a moment, Chen Ang made a decision. After carefully putting away the ruins map, Chen Ang got up and walked towards the mountain, looking for the trail of the dragon wolf. The intelligence businessman did not deceive him. Soon, Chen Ang encountered a dragon wolf. Although it is a wolf, it is bigger than a tiger, with gray hair and faint black scales. The appearance looks no different from the wolf, but it is more vigorous and handsome. And exudes a faint aura of coercion. This is the dragon's might in the dragon wolf's body, which is very weak and comes from the blood. As a dragon beast, the only thing worth mentioning is Longwei, which is also the way to identify dragon beasts. If it also has the breath of a dragon, it can be called a yulong. Roar. At this moment, Long Lang stared at Chen Ang with a tight body, saliva dripping from his mouth, and his eyes were greedy. The next moment, he rushed over suddenly, waving his sharp claws. Chen Ang also swung out a claw, and his strength exploded. With a bang, the dragon wolf was swept away by a claw. The strength is not weak, but now I am stronger, Chen Ang said to himself after feeling the power of the dragon and wolf. Having swallowed the blood of the blood python before, his attributes have been improved again, otherwise his strength should be evenly matched with the dragon wolf. Roar. The dragon wolf roared, and was slightly injured after being bombarded, and became even more violent. At this moment, when the voice fell, he suddenly opened his mouth, and a sharp wind blade instantly condensed and struck directly. Chen Ang's expression was indifferent, not flustered. Turning his head slightly, the wind blade brushed past his ear. Immediately after, Chen Ang stepped out, bursting with speed, and rushed out like a cannonball. In a few breaths, he came to the dragon wolf. Roar. The dragon wolf reacted quickly, opening his bloody mouth and attacking. But Chen Ang moves faster. Tear claws. With a low voice in my heart, the dragon claws waved. Puff. The terrifying power, coupled with the armor-piercing characteristics, the dragon claws almost easily tore apart the fur of the dragon wolf, attacking the flesh and blood, tearing even the bones. As soon as it fell, blood spattered. A brain soars. It is the head of the dragon wolf. Just one hit and instant death. The power of the tearing claw is indeed powerful. Chen Ang's mouth twitched, quite excited. Of course, the most important thing is the blood from the blood python, otherwise it would not be so easy. A dragon wolf is not small, so there is a lot of blood in the body. After Chen Ang collected all of them, his eyes suddenly lit up. I was thinking about whether to kill a few more, but now it seems that killing one is enough. The blood in this dragon wolf is enough to activate another characteristic of dragon claws. After putting all the dragon blood into the space ring, Chen Ang squatted down and dissected the dragon wolf's body. Soon, Chen Ang's eyes lit up and discovered evolutionary materials. Wolf bone, yes, 1,000 yuan. After putting away the shiny bones and the corpse, Chen Ang got up and let out a sigh of relief. Next, it's time to leave. Although it is only more than a day into the secret realm. But considering the evolution, you still have to get the remaining materials first. If the secret realm exits, is it there? Chen Ang looked into the distance. A beam of light penetrated the sky and the earth. Chen Ang saw it when he entered the secret realm. That is the exit of the secret realm. The location of entering and exiting the secret realm is fixed. But when you come in, you will randomly go to different places. Shaking his head, Chen Ang was satisfied with wasting time and ran towards the exit at full speed. Along the way, Chen Ang encountered some beasts. After killing them all, he got a lot of materials. It took about 3 hours for Chen Ang to reach the exit of the secret realm. Other talents can also be seen here, but because of the proximity to the exit, there are no scavengers. Arriving at the foot of the beam of light, when Chen Ang was about to leave, a voice came from behind. Chen Ang. Hearing the voice, Chen Ang looked back, showing surprise. Classmate Li Leiyao. It was the class flower who invited him before, and he was trotting all the way. Next to Ban Hua was a middle-aged man, who seemed to be Li Leiyao's father. He couldn't tell from his breath, so it was certain that he was very strong. It's really you, Chen Ang, I thought I was wrong. Li Leiyao said with a happy smile on his face, and introduced him by the way. Chen Ang, this is my dad, because you rejected me before, so I can only ask my dad to bring me in. Also, Dad, this is Chen Ang, the classmate I told you about earlier. Heard. Chen Ang felt embarrassed and touched his nose, but still shouted. Hello, Uncle Li. Ha ha ha, hello, I heard Liao talk about your talent, Dragon Claw, right? How is your groping? Chen Ang said calmly. Okay, ready to activate the second feature. Oh, hearing this, Uncle Li's eyes flashed with surprise, but he disappeared immediately and smiled. Awesome, it seems, I suddenly feel that you can evolve the talent of Dragon Claw. Hopefully, Chen Ang said modestly, and didn't say anything like, certainly possible, or, surely possible. Li Leiyao pouted and said unhappily. Dad, it's obviously my classmate, why are you chatting so happily? Ha ha ha, isn't this a good chat with classmate Chen Ang? Uncle Li scratched his head and laughed. Li Leiyao snorted, looked at Chen Ang and said with a smile. Chen Ang, add your contact information. I'll invite you again. I hope you won't reject me again. Chen Ang was silent and nodded. It is good. After exchanging contact information with Li Leiyao, Li Leiyao waved to Chen Ang happily. Hey, then I'll go first, bye. Goodbye. Done. Li Leiyao left with his father. Chen Ang stood there, his eyes flickering, thinking secretly. Li Leiyao's father has the aura of a superior person. He should be extraordinary. Maybe he can trade with the other party to obtain the evolutionary resources I need. Chen Ang thought so in his heart. Healing light in this world, the only known way of evolution is natural light. But he knew the second type, and Li Leiyao would not refuse if he wanted to come. However, you have to think carefully and make up a suitable source of evolutionary route. Leiyao, what's wrong, Dad? Li Leiyao looked at her father curiously. Li Chengkong's eyes flickered and he instructed. If you can, befriend that Chen Ang, it won't do you any harm. Dad, why did you suddenly say this? Li Leiyao looked confused. Li Chengkong shook his head with a smile and said softly. You classmate, it's not easy. It seems to be a first-order talent who has just awakened, but the smell of blood is very strong, which means that he has seen blood, and it is still human blood. It should kill some hunters in the secret realm. Besides, it is also mixed with animal blood, and the beasts are estimated to have killed a lot. The whole body is full of qi and blood. His strength is just as Chen Ang guessed, very strong. Therefore, the eyesight is not bad. Although it is only a short contact with Chen Ang, you can see the extraordinariness of Chen Ang through some breaths on Chen Ang. Anyway, your classmate, if you can evolve your Dragon Claw talent to the second stage, you can leap across the Dragon Gate. It's not easy. Dragon Claw talent. Evolution is hard. Ordinary people awaken this talent, even if they are excited, they are also sad. But he couldn't see sadness in Chen Ang's eyes, only confidence. Confidence in what? Maybe it's the power of self-confidence. It may also be that he is confident that he can evolve his talents. Li Chengkong felt that perhaps both. In addition, looking at the leopard from the observation just now, it can be seen that Chen Ang has an extraordinary mind, and if evolution is not a problem, once he enters the second stage, even if he cannot evolve the Dragon Claw to the third stage, he can regain new talents. And focus on new talents. In the future, there may be a strong one. This is his daughter's network. As an old father, he has to remind himself. Heard. Li Leiyao nodded knowingly, but then muttered. Dad, Chen Ang is very difficult to get along with. He rejected me once before, maybe he will reject me a second time next time. Li Chengkong laughed. Ha ha ha, do you know what this means? What do you mean? Li Leiyao wondered. It means that in the eyes of the other party, you can't give them any help. Maybe it will help, but the help is not big enough. It's better to go alone. So, you have to evolve your talent as soon as possible, but you can't be in a hurry. Next, Dad will help you get some treasures, try to make you reach the first order limit, and evolution is the best time. Li Leiyao nodded. Okay, Dad, I know, but is Chen Ang really as good as you say? You'll know when you look at it. Li Chengkong shook his head with a smile and said softly. Everything depends on whether this kid's talent can evolve. If he can't evolve to Tier 2, he won't be able to acquire Tier 2 talent. He can only be trapped in Tier 1 for a lifetime. In that case, no matter how powerful his talent is, it's just a shoal. Just living a life. ... Chen Ang naturally didn't know that someone was discussing him. Out of the secret realm, on the way home. After Chen Ang took out his mobile phone and turned it on, he added Li Leiyao and then showed an unexpected look. What is this? A discussion group pulled by the head teacher. He saw that a discussion group had appeared in his software. In addition to himself, other awakened students in the school, as well as the head teacher, are all there. It should have been pulled not long after he entered the secret realm yesterday. Xie Kangning. I plan to go to the secret realm today, is there anyone with me? Zhao Sibo, Qingqing, together. At Xiao Yiqing. Xiao Yiqing. I know you well. Zhao Sibo, head teacher. Everyone can go to the novice secret realm during this time, but it's best to be careful of the wild hunters inside, don't go deep, and the location close to the secret realm exit is safer. Of course, it is best for you to go together. Head teacher. In addition, while improving your strength, don't forget to study. If you have any questions, you can privately chat with me to ask. Laugh. Looking at the previous chat messages in the discussion group, Chen Ang couldn't help being amused by Xiao Yiqing's reply. This woman is interesting. Ding dong. Phone vibration. New news is coming. Chen Ang switched pages and glanced at it. It was Li Leiyao who agreed to the friend request and sent a message. Li Leiyao. Chen Ang, are you home yet? Chen Ang. No. Li Leiyao. What a coincidence, neither did I. Chen Ang. So embarrassing. Do school beauties usually chat with people like this? Aren't you afraid of dying? Probably not. After all, there are probably quite a lot of schoolgirls licking dogs. Chen Ang. Is something wrong? If it's okay, I'll get off. It's not safe to play with your phone while walking. Li Leiyao. White eyes. Li Leiyao. Have you received the document from the teacher? Picture. Li Leiyao sent a picture. Chen Ang clicked and took a look and understood. The content on the document is, Healing Light Experience. I don't know where the head teacher got it. Since it is an experience, it will not be any information that you can find on the internet. After thinking about it, Chen Ang replied. Chen Ang. No. Li Leiyao. Why, Xiao Yiqing has it. Chen Ang. I guess I didn't find it. After replying, Chen Ang shook his head, put away his phone, and quickened his pace. Why not? In fact, you can probably guess. This kind of document is an investment of the teacher himself. Since it is an investment, of course, it is necessary to invest in potential. Does Li Leiyao have potential? Does Xiao Yiqing have potential? Have. There are even a few classmates who have potential, even more potential than themselves in the eyes of the teacher. Why? Because of their evolutionary route, all seniors have tried it out. As long as you follow the steps, you can evolve. But Dragon Claw. Ha ha. Dragon Claw now has no predecessors to figure out the evolutionary route. Under such circumstances, I am afraid that in the eyes of many people, oneself will be trapped in the first order and unable to evolve, so naturally there is no potential. Since there is no potential, why waste the time? Of course, for these, Chen Ang doesn't care. As for people, if you have someone you can rely on them. No, it's up to you. Walking on the road, Chen Ang touched his chin and thought to himself. If you ask Li Leiyao to trade the evolutionary route, you can temporarily say that the source of the evolutionary route was obtained from the secret realm. The ruins where I got the potion before is very good. Anyway, no one knows what I got from it, so I said that I found a bottle of the evolutionary blueprint of the healing light talent in it. But if you really want to trade, it's definitely impossible to only need one material, and you have to think about what resources you want. Thinking room. Chen Ang stepped into an alley, the only way to go home. In the dark, someone approached, holding a flickering weapon in his hand, and the leader grinned. Boy, how about honoring your brothers? Hearing this, Chen Ang raised his eyes, glanced at it calmly, and said directly, roll. As an orphan, Chen Ang's place is naturally not a villa complex, but an area where the poor live. In this era when the talent is king, to put it bluntly, it means that strength comes first. Such a world naturally breeds evil. Not to mention some scumbags. It's just that Chen Ang didn't expect to meet him. Hearing Chen Ang's words, the leading man was stunned for a moment, and then he looked ferocious. He waved his weapon and roared at Chen Ang without saying a word. Who made you talk to labor and management so arrogantly? The iron rod whistled, but the next moment, Chen Ang raised his hand suddenly, grabbed the iron rod easily, and the strong force made him unable to move. The man kept exploding his own strength, but still remained motionless. By this time, the man had noticed something, and the ferocity on his face gradually turned pale. Are you a genius? His voice trembled. As soon as these words came out, those behind him who had wanted to come and teach Chen Ang a lesson all panicked. Chen Ang didn't answer, just sneered and kicked out. Boom! Terrifying power. Even if Chen Ang didn't use all his strength, he kicked the man several meters away, spurting a mouthful of blood. You can even hear the sound of broken bones. Twisting his neck, Chen Ang took a step forward indifferently. Before anyone else could react, Chen Ang's figure had disappeared. Immediately afterwards, someone's face changed suddenly, and he felt a sharp pain in his chest, and then his body was blasted out like a cannonball. One after another. Although Chen Ang can't kill people, he doesn't mind being taught a lesson. But for a moment, Chen Ang left, but in the alley, a gangster fell to the ground, groaning in pain with blood on the corner of his mouth. Even if everyone just suffered a blow from Chen Ang, it is estimated that it is impossible to recover without lying down for a year or two. When you make money, you may have to move. Chen Ang touched his chin and thought. Although he is not afraid of those gangsters now, he also does not want trouble. While thinking about it, he has returned home. First put down the luggage, then took out the dragon's blood, poured out part of it, turned his right hand into a dragon's claw, and soaked it. The second characteristic of dragon claws can be soaked for 3 days, and it won't take long. Then go to school tomorrow. You have to find a way to improve your physical attributes. While muttering, Chen Ang suddenly raised his eyebrows, looked at his claws soaked in dragon blood, and felt a hint of wonder. Dragon claws seemed to be absorbing the energy contained in dragon blood. Or the blood of the dragon contained in the blood of the dragon. Very strange feeling. Most importantly, with the immersion, Chen Ang vaguely felt that his physical attributes had increased. Perhaps it is related to the second characteristic of dragon claw. In short, after soaking, Chen Ang immediately checked his physical attributes. Chen Ang. Body. 38 pull. 100. Force, 40 pull, 100. Min, 38 pull, 100. Fine, 34 pull, 100. Talent, Dragon Claw. Characteristic, armor breaking. Skill, Tearing Claw. Entry level, you need to improve your proficiency. It really improved. Chen Ang's eyes flickered. Although because of the snake blood, his physical attributes have been improved. But definitely not that big. In particular, the strength has reached 40 points. Obviously, when I soaked the dragon claws just now, my attributes also improved a little. But the increase is not large. There are also tearing claws, and you have to start practicing early. With a sigh, Chen Ang suddenly felt that he had a lot of things to do next. He waved his hand and disposed of the useless blood after soaking. Chen Ang went to the bathroom to take a shower, changed his clothes and went out. He has a lot of material to deal with. In this regard, there are specialized stores that will acquire them. After spending some time, Chen Ang got 37,000 yuan. Then I went to the herbal medicine store and the equipment store, and bought some herbs and a special wooden doll, which cost 15,000 in total. Then Chen Ang is going home. Buying herbs and wooden dummy stakes is to practice tearing claws. Increasing the proficiency of the tearing claw requires appropriate goals, using the tearing claw to attack every day, familiar with the physical strength, attacking rhythm, fully integrating it into oneself, and making the skills the instinct of the body. After consuming all the physical energy by tearing the claws, use the herbs such as soil roots, scale grass flowers, etc. to make a medicinal soup and soak the dragon claws. This is what Goldfinger suggested to Chen Ang about how to increase the proficiency level of the tearing claw. Back home, first prepare lunch. Then Chen Ang placed the wooden pegs. Start practicing. An afternoon passed in a blink of an eye. I don't feel it, maybe it's just the beginning, so it will take some time to improve the proficiency level. Looking at his dragon claws, Chen Ang, who had finished his practice today, shook his head. After dinner, he went back to his room, sat at the desk with a pen, and thought to himself. You can contact Li Leiyao tomorrow and take out the medicine directly. It's not very good. I'm afraid I don't have that much money to buy materials. Because, I can let the other party collect materials and give it to me. In order to avoid letting the other party find out the specific materials, I can mix in some unnecessary materials to confuse the audience. But the most important question is what to ask the other party. Dragon scales and heart blood are definitely needed, but these two things are far from the value of an evolutionary root that has never appeared. I definitely can't lose money, so I need other items. But what Chen Ang needs now is really not much. No, I can ask for treasures from heaven and earth. Chen Ang's eyes lit up, thinking of the items he needed. There is no shortage of treasures from heaven and earth. Thinking of this, Chen Ang began to formulate a plan to avoid omissions. Even think about what to say and what not to say. The matter is important, and Chen Ang cannot be allowed to be careless. After all, disaster comes from the mouth, and it is easy to lead to the disaster of death if you are not careful. This is no joke. In an era when talent is king, the importance of evolutionary roots is self-evident. After everything was done, the time unknowingly reached around 12 o'clock. Looking up and looking at the time, Chen Ang yawned. After remembering all his plans, he grinned and took out his lighter and set it on fire again. Then he took a shower and lay down on the bed to fall asleep. The next morning, 7:30, Chen Ang opened his eyes, picked up his phone and checked the time. Instead of rushing to wash and eat, he found Li Leiyao's contact information and sent a message. I got a recipe from the secret realm, the recipe for the new evolutionary direction of healing light, do you need it? Finish sending the message. Get up and take a shower. By the way, I made a breakfast with the meat of the beasts that I had collected in the space ring. After eating and drinking, Chen Ang picked up the phone and found that Li Leiyao had sent a lot of messages. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Are you serious? Really? You're not lying to me, are you? The new evolutionary direction, how can it be so easy to get? Why don't you get the news? Is it true? Hurry up and get back to me. Chen Ang. It's true, do you want it? In a villa, Li Leiyao was wearing denim hot pants, a white shirt, and long black hair with a delicate face, looking extremely beautiful. At this time, she was holding the phone, waiting anxiously. Next to him, Li Chengkong took a cup of tea and took a sip of hot tea, shook his head and laughed. Okay, what's the hurry? Maybe they're busy, and they'll get back to you later. You must not be in a hurry, Dad, you are not the talent of healing light. Li Leiyao pouted. Just finished. A ding-dong sounded, and the phone vibrated. Li Leiyao quickly picked up the phone, opened it and glanced at it, showing a happy expression. Dad, come back to me, he said it was true, and asked me if I wanted it. What should I do? What else can I do? I must agree first. Li Chengkong was helpless towards his daughter. Why do you need to ask such a thing? But after all, it is his own daughter, so Li Chengkong touched his chin and thought for a moment, and then he said. In this way, you agree first, and we will meet today at an appointment. The talent of healing light is inherently powerful, but as a healing department talent, the only known evolutionary direction is the light of nature. Although it is very powerful after it evolves to a high level, it is extremely extreme. In the back, either go in the direction of pure elemental combat, or go in the direction of extreme healing. If you go in the direction of the elements, you will lose your healing ability. If you go in the direction of healing, you will lose your fighting ability. If there is a new evolutionary direction, maybe the two can be merged. If not, you must carefully consider the advantages and disadvantages of the two different directions, and then consider carefully. Heard. Li Leiyao nodded and replied immediately. Not long after, Li Leiyao's eyes lit up and said, Dad, he has time at noon. Okay, then you set a place, let's go there at noon. It is good. ... Looking at the address sent by the other party, Chen Ang put down the phone, took out the dragon's blood and started soaking the dragon's claws. After soaking the dragon's claws, he wiped off the blood on the dragon's claws and came to the yard to prepare for today's practice. The dragon claws waved, and the tearing claws were displayed to attack on the special wooden pile. A trace suddenly appeared. The corners of Chen Ang's mouth twitched, and he murmured to himself. As expected of a specially made wooden pile, it is really hard. This thing, good is good, but unfortunately very expensive. And it can't be repaired. If it breaks, you have to buy it again. But for now, it's enough. Hukai, hukai, hukai. The sound of breaking the air kept ringing. Chen Ang kept attacking the wooden dummy with the tearing claws. As a skill, it is also very energy-intensive to display. As far as Chen Ang's current physical fitness is concerned, he can use the tearing claw 4 times in a row at most, and he is about to rest. But that's enough. After casting, Chen Ang began to soak the medicinal soup. Up again, Chen Ang murmured. Before soaking dragon blood, now after soaking medicinal soup. Chen Ang can clearly feel the property has grown. It is still small, with little growth. But it's something to be happy about. And, other than that, the practice of tearing claws has also enhanced physical attributes. After all, the cultivation of skills can be regarded as a kind of cultivation of the body in some respects, and it is not surprising that the physique is enhanced. The only regret is that the spiritual power cannot be enhanced by this. The skill of tearing claw belongs to the body, and it consumes qi, blood and vigor. As for elemental skills, I heard that it consumes mental power. I don't know if there is a special way to improve mental power in the future. The improvement of mental strength is more difficult. Unlike the physique, many treasures of heaven and earth can enhance the physique. But it is very rare to improve spiritual power. Wanting to rely on the treasures of heaven and earth to improve mental strength is like a fool's dream. Fortunately, the current Chen Ang is not in a hurry to increase his mental strength. And, after entering university, there might be a way. Time passed quietly. It was noon in the blink of an eye. When Chen Ang went out, it was still at the entrance of the alley yesterday. Chen Ang saw several men who were wrapped in bandages and walked cautiously. Yesterday's fools. Seeing Chen Ang, the gangsters were full of fear, subconsciously afraid. The leader was even paler, obviously having a psychological shadow because of Chen Ang. However, Chen Ang just took a casual glance and left. Boss, what should I do? Do I really need to collect protection fees in this place in the future? A gangster questioned his boss with fear in his voice. Yeah, boss, if people have the idea of drawing a knife to help people see the injustice, I'm afraid we will die miserably, right? That's a talent, how can we ordinary people afford it? Otherwise, let's forget it, boss. Listening to the words of his subordinates, the gangster boss turned his head and looked over with a gloomy expression. A pair of fierce eyes suddenly made several gangsters quickly shut their mouths. Seeing this, the man snorted coldly. What are you afraid of? Aren't you just a gifted person? What if you were a gifted person at this age? You are just awakened. Lousy has a way to deal with him. Don't forget why we are charging protection fees here. There are people behind. Hearing this, the gangsters seemed to have remembered something, and they were relieved and relieved. But a scoundrel raised his hand tremblingly and asked in a low voice. Old boss, what if that adult doesn't care? No, don't care. The gangster's face stiffened, and then he pouted helplessly. No matter what, we'll leave. With that said, the gangster boss took out his mobile phone, found a phone number in the address book, and immediately dialed it. Chen Ang naturally didn't know about this. Not long after walking, Chen Ang arrived at a restaurant. Welcome. Hello sir, do you have an appointment? A beautiful waiter in a cheongsam came over and asked with a smile. Chen Ang said Li Leiyao's name, and the waiter immediately led the way. Not long after, it was at the door of a box. The waiter left, Chen Ang knocked on the door, and when a voice came from inside, Chen Ang pushed the door open and walked in. Li Chengkong and Li Leiyao were already waiting here. Seeing Chen Ang, Li Leiyao waved her hand happily. You are finally here, hurry up, tell me what the new evolutionary direction is. Li Chengkong looked helpless. Leiyao, what's the hurry? Let Chen Ang sit down and rest for a while. It happens that you order food first, and then we will talk while eating. Oh, when Dad said this, Li Leiyao pouted, and obediently picked up the menu and ordered. Chen Ang chuckled and sat opposite the father and daughter. Then said, Uncle Li, don't be in a hurry to eat, business matters are important. Hearing this, Li Chengkong was startled, but he didn't expect Chen Ang to be so anxious, but it happened that he was actually looking forward to it. Therefore, Li Chengkong immediately nodded and said, You're right, this is a deal, but I don't know how Chen Ang wants to deal. And since it's a transaction, Chen Ang must let us confirm the authenticity of your words, right? Chen Ang nodded. Of course this is true, but I can't say too much, because I don't have a potion in my hand, so I can't let you use it immediately to confirm the authenticity. But I can tell you the result of this evolutionary direction. Quote. Oh, hearing this, both Li Chengkong and Li Leiyao's eyes lit up. Li Leiyao asked curiously, Chen Ang, what is another evolution of healing light? It's the holy light. Holy light. Doubt flashed in their eyes. Chen Ang explained with a smile. Similar to healing light, but it is not only a healing effect, but also has the ability to attack. Uncle Li can be understood as a kind of elemental energy of the light system. Light element energy. This explanation made Li Chengkong immediately understand the ability of Shengguang's talent, and then he couldn't help but take a deep breath, and his eyes flashed with ecstasy. He had previously guessed whether this other evolutionary direction would be a combination of healing and attacking, but he did not expect it to be the case. As an old father, he was heartbroken for his daughter's development. It's about the future of my daughter. Therefore, Li Chengkong quickly calmed himself down and asked in a deep voice while touching his chin. This evolutionary direction is really exciting. How does Chen Ang want to trade? It's simple, Chen Ang said. I just need materials and treasures. Can. Li Chengkong agreed without hesitation. What about the quantity? 2 copies of the materials, the death-type Yulong scales and the blood of the heart, and 3 copies of the treasures of heaven and earth, how about it? This price, Li Chengkong had no objection after thinking about it for a while. Even more than the price, he is more concerned about another thing. Yulong scales and heartblood. He remembered that Chen Ang's talent was Dragon Claw. Now that I want this material again, is it difficult? Li Chengkong moved in his heart. Seeing Chen Ang's eyes flashing with surprise, he still couldn't help but ask. Chen Ang, have you found the evolutionary direction of the Dragon Claw talent? Ah, the evolutionary direction of Dragon Claw talent. Hearing this, Li Leiyao was stunned for a while, and then looked at Chen Ang in surprise. Chen Ang smiled and shook his head, without words. But such a gesture has already shocked Li Chengkong. He was sure that this daughter's classmate had really found it. What kind of luck is this? Do not. Maybe it's not luck, or maybe it's something people figured out by themselves. But if that's the case, Chen Ang is definitely a top talent. This means that the future of the other party is bright and bright. After all, if you can figure out the direction of the first order evolution and the second order, you may not be able to figure out the direction of the second order evolution and the third order. Hiss. Thinking of this, Li Changkong was even more shocked. But on the surface, he nodded calmly and said, "Your request, yes." Chen Ang spoke again. "In addition, you need to prepare the materials for the evolution potion yourself." "No problem." This Li Changkong also agreed. Chen Ang immediately took out the prepared list of materials and handed it over. Li Changkong took it and glanced at it but didn't look at it. He is a smart man. This kind of list, you don't need to look closely to know that it must be mixed with other fake materials. Otherwise, wouldn't it be easy for someone to figure out the real formula? But he didn't care. After all, he didn't have any ideas in that regard. After thinking for a while, Li Changkong said, "After lunch, I will send someone to collect the materials immediately, and once the materials are in hand, I will send them to you. How about it?" "It is good." Chen Ang nodded. The purpose of the meeting was thus finalized. Both Li Changkong and Chen Ang had smiles on their faces. Then there is the meal. Lunchroom. Li Changkong also asked where Chen Ang's formula was obtained. Chen Ang said it was in a ruin in the secret realm. Then Li Changkong asked side by side if he got more than one recipe. Chen Ang was perfunctory with a ha-ha. All in all, Chen Ang was very satisfied with his lunch. After eating and drinking, he got up and left without any hesitation. After Chen Ang left, Li Changkong couldn't help feeling emotional. Tisk tisk, Li Yao, your classmate is not simple. You are obviously about the same age as you, but you look like an old fox. This shows that Chen Ang is very powerful. Li Yao replied with a smile. Hearing this, Li Changkong shook his head helplessly. It's not just a big problem. There are many kinds of great. Yes, it is powerful and powerful. For Chen Ang, the strength will not be mentioned for the time being. At least the heart is not ordinary. ... My evolutionary material problem is settled. Next, just wait. Walking out of the restaurant, Chen Ang took a deep breath. After the materials are obtained and the treasures of heaven and earth are obtained, his second characteristic will definitely be activated. Even the proficiency level of the tearing claw can be increased again. At that time, with the help of heaven and earth treasures, it may be possible to directly evolve to the second order. In this way, the ruins in the secret realm can also be easily explored. Shaking his head, Chen Ang stopped thinking about it and was ready to leave. At this time, the voice sounded from the right. "Chen Ang, why are you here?" Hearing the sound, it was Xie Kangning. Wearing a black suit, he was rather handsome, but Chen Ang frowned slightly because of the superiority he exuded. Suppressing this feeling, Chen Ang said flatly, "Dine with Li Yao, what's the matter?" "Have dinner with Li Yao." Xie Kangning was stunned for a moment, then laughed in disdain. "Don't be kidding, a meal in this kind of place costs tens of thousands of yuan. It's not that I despise you. How can you afford to eat here? So what, it has something to do with you." Chen Ang's eyes were calm, and he didn't want to quarrel with the clown. This kind of gaze instantly made Xie Kangning, who had lived a prosperous life since childhood and had grown up with many stars, felt uncomfortable in his heart. But the next moment, he seemed to think of something and laughed. "I see, you came here to eat with Li Yao. Shouldn't Li Yao pay the bill in the end?" "It seems to think so." Xie Kangning laughed even more. "Ha ha ha ha, Chen Ang, it really belongs to you. As a big man, you have such a thick skin. However, I suggest you not to pester Li Yao in the future." With a cold look in his eyes, he warned, "Toads are not worthy of swans." Hearing Xie Kangning's words, Chen Ang couldn't help laughing. "Are you talking about yourself?" Having said that, Chen Ang looked at Xie Kangning carefully. Then sneered, "I think you look like a toad. You don't know what's wrong, Chen Ang." Xie Kangning's face was gloomy and he snorted coldly. "Even if you have awakened the powerful dragon claw talent, but do you think you can evolve it? If you can't evolve, even if you are a talent, you are just a waste. And Li Yao, you can't be delusional. Listen to my advice. Stay away from Li Yao in the future, otherwise, maybe one day you will die on your way home." Heard. Chen Ang's eyes suddenly turned cold. "Are you threatening me?" How about threatening you? Xie Kangning looked disdainful. Chen Ang's identity, he is very clear. Just an orphan. Even if you are a genius now. But he doesn't think Chen Ang can evolve. You have to know that a talented person who cannot evolve is a waste. I threaten a waste, you should be proud. The words are not over yet. Chen Ang shot hard. That terrifying speed made Xie Kangning's pupils shrink, and Chen Ang grabbed his neck before he could even react. The powerful force made Chen Ang easily lift Xie Kangning into the air, and Xie Kangning had difficulty breathing for a while, his face flushed red, and he struggled frantically. But Chen Ang's arm remained motionless. By you. Chen Ang sneered, looking directly at Xie Kangning with icy eyes. Who gave you confidence? I don't want to quarrel with the clown, and I don't like to hear the dog barking in my ear, and I don't like to have a next time. Roll. After speaking, Chen Ang waved his hand sharply. Xie Kangning was thrown directly out. If it weren't for this place in the city, there would still be many people looking at it. Chen Ang doesn't mind twisting this guy's head off. Alone, Xie Kangning alone is not qualified to threaten him. With a cold snort, Chen Ang turned around and left. The good mood when he just left the restaurant was swept away. Cough cough cough. As Chen Ang left, Xie Kangning got up from the ground and looked at the direction Chen Ang left. His face was extremely gloomy, full of murderous intent. A pariah, a orphan, how dare he? How dare he do this to me? Chen Ang, you are courting death. He roared inwardly. The pair of eyes around him made him feel that he had no dignity and even more anger. Turn around and leave for a while. Originally, I was thinking of inviting Li Leiyao to watch a movie in the afternoon. But now he just wanted to find a place to vent his anger. But when Xie Kangning left the restaurant door, came to a corner and stepped into a car, he took out his mobile phone and dialed without hesitation. Soon, the phone was dialed. Xie Kangning's face was ashen, and he commanded directly through gritted teeth. Knife, keep an eye on that guy, understand? Next, as soon as he leaves, notify me immediately. I want him to die. The words were filled with resentment. If you don't keep an eye on it, I tell you, I will destroy you myself. Yes, yes, Master Xie, don't worry, I will keep an eye on him, you can rest assured. The frightened voice on the phone rang, and he quickly assured. Hearing this, Xie Kangning snorted coldly and hung up the phone. After doing all this, Xie Kangning felt the anger in his heart dissipated a little. But he didn't stop, but found another phone number to dial. When the call is made, Xie Kangning took a deep breath and said solemnly, Dad, I'm going to kill someone. Who? Chen Ang, a newly awakened student. Reason. Hinder me from pursuing Li Leiyao. After a moment of silence on the phone, the voice came. Okay, I'll let someone find you, but remember, don't do it in the city. Okay, I know. After speaking, the phone was hung up. But Xie Kangning's gloomy face recovered a little, and excitement burst out in his eyes. Wait to die, Chen Ang. He sneered in his heart. Although the Xie family is not a gifted family, they are rich and wealthy. They use money to clear the way, plus they know how to be a man. They have a certain relationship in this city. He also hired some talented people who needed money to work for the Xie family. It's just that in the past few years, the Xie family has developed better and better. Even if it is clear that the Xie family is not strong enough, knowing that the development is too good, it is easy to attract coveted, but Xie Kangning's father has to develop, making the wealth of the Xie family more and more. The reason is that it cannot be restrained. Xie Kangning's father is also a smart man. Years ago, the Xie family had been restrained from developing because there was not enough power. It's just that Xie Kangning's father is not alone in the Xie family. In desperation, it has only had to develop in recent years. Fortunately, Xie Kangning's father thought of a way to let Xie Kangning pursue Li Leiyao. As long as Li Leiyao is caught up, he will become in law with the Li family. With the strength of Li Leiyao's father, he was completely able to keep these wealth. It can be said that the pursuit of Li Leiyao. Not only was Xie Kangning interested in Li Leiyao's body, but more importantly, it was for the Xie family. Otherwise, when the Xie family continues to develop, it will lead to disaster sooner or later. Master, where are we going now? From the driver's seat, the driver's voice came. Hearing this, Xie Kangning took a deep breath, thought for a while, and said, Go to Zuichunlu. Chen Ang, the labor and management are so angry, I just went to vent. Although angry, but Xie Kangning felt that Chen Ang was dead. It's just a matter of time. As long as there is no obstruction from Chen Ang, isn't it easy to pursue Li Leiyao? Thinking of Li Leiyao's bumpy body and delicate face, Xie Kangning's body was filled with desire. Licking his lips, Xie Kangning felt that he needed to vent, so he asked the driver to speed up. Chen Ang naturally didn't know about this. After leaving the restaurant, Chen Ang strolled outside for a while, and then returned home to practice. Of course, it is not the practice of tearing claws. Instead, exercise. In this way, physical attributes can also be enhanced. Although it can't improve as much as swallowing the treasures of heaven and earth, it can pay for diligence. As long as you continue to exercise, the cumulative improvement is not to be underestimated. Time flies by like a horse. In a blink of an eye, a new day has come. The next morning, Chen Ang woke up early in the morning, washed quickly, and after breakfast, he took out the last dragon blood and began to soak the dragon claws. After soaking today, my second characteristic should be activated. Thought here, Chen Ang was looking forward to it. Start with soaking. Inexplicably, a burning sensation appeared on his arm. Itchy. Ma. It seems that something is changing in the arm. And it's a huge change. But the immersion is not over, and Chen Ang doesn't know the specifics, so he can only wait patiently. Fortunately, the soaking time passed quickly. When the soaking is over, Chen Ang looked at his dragon claw for the first time, and his expression was shocked, and a shocking expression flashed in his eyes. What followed was ecstasy. This is the second characteristic of dragon claw. The second characteristic, dragon muscle. Under the dragon scales of the dragon claw on the entire right arm, the muscles have turned into dragon muscles. The change brought about by this characteristic is that through the particularity of the muscles, Chen Ang can burst into a more terrifying explosive force. Just like some animals and insects, they seem to be weak and small, but ordinary people can crush them with one finger, but they can explode their own strength several times or even dozens of times. It's all about muscles. Why can ants burst out with so much power? It's because the ant's muscle is a very efficient prime mover, several times more efficient than an aero engine. The burst of strength is basically determined by the efficiency of the muscles. Dragon muscle is not easy. It can make Chen Ang burst into a power that exceeds twice his own in an instant. This is scary. You must know that Chen Ang is not an ant. His power itself is terrifying, and it can continue to improve. And the strength of the dragon muscle is the upper limit of the ant. It means that no matter how high Chen Ang's power is, he can explode with twice the power. Just horrible. Not to mention that Chen Ang also has a tearing claw boost. It can only be said that the dragon claw is indeed a top talent, and such characteristics are enough to scare people to death. Take a deep breath. Chen Ang's heart moved. The properties panel appears. Chen Ang. Body. 42 pull. 100. Force. 44 pull. 100. Min. 43 pull. 100. Fine. 35 pull. 100. Talent. Dragon claw. Characteristics. Armor break. Dragon muscle. Double strength increase. Skill. Tier claw. Entry level. Double strength increase. You need to increase your proficiency. Looking at his attributes, Chen Ang's eyes flickered. In the case of full combat power, I can easily fight with the first order extreme talent. Taking a deep breath, Chen Ang turned off the prompt. Then he waved his hand, went to the bathroom to wash off the blood on his arm, and came to the yard. Looking at the wooden pile, he immediately waved a claw, and the tearing claw burst out. Compared to yesterday, the tearing claw only left a trace. But now, with Chen Ang's shot down, bang, a deep hole was torn out directly on the wooden pile. Amazing power. Continue. Chen Ang grinned and continued to attack. The second time. The third time. The fourth time. Boom. Consume the last energy in the body to display the last tearing claw. When the attack landed on the wooden dummy pile, a powerful force erupted, and the wooden dummy pile split apart. Next, we will wait for the materials from the Li family. With a murmur, Chen Ang started to clean up the yard. Li Leiyao's father's strength is extraordinary, and he also has enough wealth, so it is very easy to collect materials. Before noon, Chen Ang's mobile phone received a message from Li Leiyao. Chen Ang, the materials you want have been collected, can you come and get them or should I send them to you? Chen Ang, I'll send you the address, let someone send it over. Li Leiyao, okay. Noon. Chen Ang had just finished eating when there was a knock on the door. Opening the door, a man in a suit stood at the door and asked, "Hello, is this Mr. Chen Ang?" "It's me." Chen Ang nodded. After being confirmed, the man in the suit smiled immediately. "This is the material that Mr. Li asked me to send to you. Please keep it." After speaking, he waved his hand. A space ring on the index finger flickered, and then a batch of materials appeared in front of Chen Ang. The man in the suit spoke again. "Mr. Li said that your remuneration will be handed over to you after the preparation of the potion is completed." "No problem. This is normal," and Chen Ang naturally has no objection to this. The materials were delivered, and the man in the suit didn't talk nonsense, turned around and left. Chen Ang also returned to the house with the materials, ready to start making evolution potions. The evolution potion is easy to make as long as you know the ingredients and the specific amount. Even though Chen Ang is the first time to make it, it can be done easily. In addition, the materials that Li Chengkong sent were not one, but two. Because one needs to be tested to confirm the authenticity. It was impossible that Chen Ang would just take out a bottle of medicine and give it to Li Leiyao. Chen Ang understands this, and so does. 2 bottles of potions took Chen Ang about an hour to make, and Li Leiyao was notified and agreed to meet in the evening. After delivering the potion, I will be able to get the treasures of heaven and earth and the remaining evolution potion materials. Chen Ang murmured, looking at the 2 orange-colored potions in front of him that transformed healing light into holy light. The corners of his mouth twitched, and he couldn't help but murmured secretly. "In this way, maybe we can set off tomorrow to go to the secret realm again, go to the ruins in the secret realm, and swallow the treasures of heaven and earth to become stronger. When I leave the secret realm, I should be almost second order. And it's not a normal second order. It is the second order after extreme evolution." Thinking of this, Chen Ang already made a decision in his heart. 4 in the evening. It's still the same restaurant as yesterday. Chen Ang went out. Just not long after going out, Chen Ang couldn't help frowning, a flash of coldness flashed in his eyes. Track, it's those fools. He glanced at the corner of his eye, and when he turned, he glanced at the sneaky figures behind him, his eyes indifferent. Want to take revenge? No, they shouldn't have the guts, so is it Xie Kangning. After having guessed, he sneered and quickened his pace, not taking it to heart. In the city, talented people can't do anything at will. And how could ordinary people threaten him? When I came to the restaurant, it was the box from yesterday. After entering, Li Chengkong and Li Leiyao were already sitting inside. Seeing Chen Ang come in, Li Leiyao's eyes suddenly lit up and looked forward to it. "Chen Ang, you are finally here. Where's the potion? Quickly take it out and give it to me, Kangkang." "Leiyao, sit down quickly, you don't look like a girl at all." Li Chengkong snorted. Li Leiyao pouted unhappily and rolled her eyes angrily at her father, but she still adjusted her sitting posture obediently, sitting like a lady. Chen Ang smiled, took out 2 bottles of medicine, handed them to Li Chengkong and said directly, "This is the evolution potion. 2 bottles. Uncle Li, you can let someone try it. I think the genius of the healing light should still be found." How to confirm the authenticity of evolution medicine? Of course it was drunk. Li Chengkong would definitely not let Li Leiyao drink it, so of course others would drink it. Certainly. Li Chengkong nodded and snapped his fingers. The box door was pushed open. A middle-aged man walked in and respectfully said to Li Chengkong, "Homeowner." This name made Chen Ang raise his eyebrows, but he didn't say anything with his hands on his shoulders, but secretly guessed Li Leiyao's family background. "This is a bottle of evolution potion, drink it," Li Chengkong ordered. The middle-aged man nodded, picked up a bottle of medicine without hesitation, opened it and drank it. Time. The man's innate healing light was subconsciously motivated and emerged. His face turned red. There seems to be some pain. But then, the green light of healing on the man began to change at a speed visible to the naked eye. From green like a forest to gold like the sun. Warm and fiery. The process of evolution is extremely short. But there is no doubt that evolution has succeeded. This is the holy light, a new evolutionary direction. Seeing this faint golden light, Li Chengkong's eyes flickered, and he said solemnly, "Using your ability, can you both heal and kill the enemy?" "Yes, master." Hearing the words, the man nodded and acted immediately. He lifted his right hand to reveal the holy light, and stroked his left arm. Puff! A small wound was separated, and blood emerged. Immediately afterwards, the man held the holy light in his palm and stroked the wound. The wound healed at a rate visible to the naked eye. "Really okay," Li Leiyao said excitedly. "Can be cured." Another attack. "This is simply much more powerful than your own healing light, isn't it? And it's a whole new direction of evolution. Dad, I want to evolve this." She looked at Li Chengkong and said expectantly. Li Chengkong shook his head helplessly and said, "Don't worry, I'll talk about it later." Having said that, Li Chengkong waved his hand. The middle-aged man nodded and left the box, closing the door. Chen Ang asked with a smile, "Uncle Li, how is it?" "Great talent." Li Chengkong nodded in admiration. "Holy light, this ability reminds me of a race." "Race?" Doubt flashed in Chen Ang's eyes. Seeing this, Li Chengkong explained with a smile. "It's a race other than my human race, and this holy light reminds me of the legendary angel." "Angel?" Chen Ang said in shock. "Are there really angels in this world?" "Of course there is." Li Chengkong nodded. "But it's extremely rare, and the strength of the angel is very powerful. Even if someone sees it, they may not be able to escape from the angel's hands." Hearing this, Chen Ang touched his chin and agreed. However, he was curious about another question and asked directly, "Uncle Li, why haven't I seen other races exist?" "Although I have heard of it, to be honest, Chen Ang has never seen it. And I don't know where the so-called other races come from." To this, Li Chengkong explained, "There are often ruins in the secret realm, you know." Chen Ang knew this, so he nodded. Li Chengkong continued, "These ruins all come from other worlds. In addition to sometimes falling into ruins, life from other worlds will also fall. This is one of the sources of other races. However, other races will not fall in the novice secret realm, only in the more dangerous secret realm. There is only one novice secret realm in our city. The more dangerous secret realms are located farther outside the city, but they are all low-level secret realms. They have never fallen to other races, so you haven't seen them before, it's very normal. As for the source of other races, falling is a way. There is another kind of crack in the battlefield. I will not talk about this aspect. It is not very good for you to know too much. In short, when you go to college, you will know it naturally." Hearing this, Chen Ang nodded, but didn't ask any further. However, Li Chengkong waved his hand, and materials suddenly appeared on the table. "This is..." Li Chengkong smiled. "This is your reward, 2 evolution materials, and 4 natural treasures. The extra portion of heaven and earth treasures can be regarded as compensation for the second bottle of evolution potion, and I think it is also very necessary for you." Aside, Li Leiyao hurriedly said, "Hey, Chen Ang, that treasure of heaven and earth, but it can improve spiritual power." Oh, hearing this, Chen Ang's eyes lit up. The treasures of heaven and earth to enhance spiritual power are very precious. And he really needs it. After all, compared to other attributes, his spiritual power is too slow to improve. I want to improve to the limit, but I don't know when. Under such circumstances, Chen Ang thought for a while, then nodded with a smile. "Then I'll be disrespectful, thank you Uncle Li." After speaking, Chen Ang waved his hand, and everything was collected into the space ring. After doing all this, Chen Ang got up and said, "Uncle Li, I've given you the things, and I've taken the reward, so I'll go back first." Chen Ang, don't you want to eat together?" Li Leiyao asked, blinking her smart eyes. Chen Ang shook his head. "No, I plan to go to the secret realm tomorrow, so I have to go back earlier to prepare." "I see, it's a pity that I can't go with you. Dad told me to stay at home to cultivate," Li Leiyao said disappointedly. To this, Chen Ang said, "If you really said to come with me, I'm afraid I would reject you again." After saying goodbye, Chen Ang left. Li Chengkong looked at his daughter, smiled helplessly, and said, "Okay, let's go back, it's time to think about your future evolutionary route." "It is good. Leave the restaurant." Chen Ang went home quickly. "First, make the evolution potion. But this thing, Chen Ang will not take it immediately after it is made. After all, you have to wait until the limit. Just make it first and put it in the space ring. After all the attributes have reached the limit, it is very convenient to take. Treasures from heaven and earth are the highlight. Fire-quenched fruit, a kind of heaven and earth treasure suitable for low-level talents, contains fire energy. After taking it, you will feel that you are tempered by flames like a forging weapon, thereby enhancing your physical attributes. If you feel hungry, you can eat it right away, it might taste good. Lightning fruit, the effect is similar to the fruit above, but it is not recommended that you take this fruit immediately after eating the fire-quenching fruit, which will lead to weakening of the effect. It is recommended to take one a day, which is the best choice. The fruit of strength, a fruit that can enhance strength, is very suitable for you, and it is not recommended to take it together with the above two. Spiritual fruit, you should know what it does by looking at the name, but this fruit can be taken with other heavenly materials and earthly treasures. 4 treasures of heaven and earth. After Chen Ang glanced at it, excitement could not help appearing in his eyes. Can't you take the treasures of heaven and earth that enhance your body at the same time? For Goldfinger's prompt, Chen Ang nodded, expressing understanding. Fortunately, spirit fruit does not have this limitation. After thinking for a while, Chen Ang put away the power fruit and the lightning fruit for a while. Then looking at the fire-hardened fruit and spiritual fruit in front of him, his eyes flashed with cold light. Thanks, Corning. When going home, he still felt someone staring at him. Not surprisingly, it's still those fools. Chen Ang had guessed before, and it is no surprise that these gangsters were guided by Xie Kangning. Let these gangsters stare at him, it is definitely not just surveillance, there will be revenge. Hands are not allowed in the city. What about the secret realm? In the secret realm, people often die. Thinking along this line, Chen Ang probably understood what Xie Kangning wanted to do. I hope you will personally follow me to the secret realm. Chen Ang sneered, picked up the fire-quenched fruit, took a bite, and swallowed all the pulp into his abdomen. Suddenly, a sharp pain like being burned by flames appeared in the abdomen, and then spread all over the body. Enduring this pain, Chen Ang picked up the spirit fruit and took another bite. It seemed that a tingling sensation also appeared in his mind. Under the double pain, Chen Ang gritted his teeth and forcibly endured it. Although painful, but Chen Ang can also feel that his body is welcoming a powerful. What? Even though he gritted his teeth, Chen Ang couldn't help but let out a painful sound. The effect of Tianxia Bao is constantly strengthening Chen Ang's body and spirit. But it also brought severe pain. When Chen Ang almost fainted, the pain began to fade. Gradually, Chen Ang no longer felt the pain. Call. After a long sigh of relief, Chen Ang simply sat on the ground and lay back. His body was already covered in sweat, and his clothes were soaked. But the next moment, Chen Ang moved in his heart, checking his attributes. After seeing the change in his attributes, Chen Ang's face showed a happy smile. Chen Ang. Body. 64 pull, 100. Force. 61 pull, 100. Min. 64 pull, 100. Fine. 59 pull, 100. Talent. Dragon Claw. Characteristics: Armor Break, Dragon Muscle, Double Strength Increase. Skill: Tier Claw. Entry Level, Double Strength Increase. You need to increase your proficiency. The improvement is so much, the pain is worth it. Chen Ang murmured. After almost recovering, Chen Ang got up and clenched his fists and waved. Listening to the sound of breaking the air, I am constantly familiar with the increased power. When the familiarity was over, Chen Ang washed up and went back to his room to rest. The next morning, a new day has come. The warm sun shines on the earth. Chen Ang opened his eyes, picked up his phone and checked the time. 7:30. After getting up and taking a shower, after having breakfast, I went out to prepare for the secret realm. Although the proficiency level of the tearing claw has not improved, but after going to the secret realm, it should be almost the same. He had a feeling that it wouldn't take long to improve. Go straight to the secret realm. Not long after walking, Chen Ang frowned slightly, but immediately stretched out, as if he had found nothing, and continued to set off. And far behind Chen Ang, the gangster boss was holding his phone and whispering, "Xie, Master Xie, he has already set off. I look at the direction, it should be the direction of the secret realm." Yes, yes, I know, if I come back, I will definitely keep watching. Yes, yes, don't worry. The phone is hung up. The boss of the gang was relieved, looked at the younger brothers behind him, waved his hand, and said, "Okay, brothers, we don't need to worry about the next thing, let's go, let's eat and drink spicy food." At the same time, the other side, inside the Zuichun building, in a certain room, Xie Kangning got up from the woman's gentle village, put on his clothes, opened the door, walked out, and knocked on the door next door. Before long, the door was opened. A middle-aged man with a scar on his face appeared and asked, "How? That guy has gone to the secret realm, will it be okay to leave it to you next?" Xie Kangning said, "Heard." The man grinned, revealing a murderous smile. "As long as he is a first-order talent, then you can rest assured that I will bring his head to see you." "Very well, I hope so." After getting a satisfactory answer, Xie Kangning also flashed a look of anticipation in his eyes, and turned to leave. The Scar man didn't talk nonsense either, he went back to his room and put on his clothes and left. Chen Ang naturally didn't know these things. At this time, Chen Ang has reached the entrance of the secret realm. Line up to pay, then step into the secret realm. A sense of dizziness struck. When he opened his eyes again, he was surrounded by lush ancient forests. Yes, it's about the same location as the last time I came in, and it's not too far from the location of the ruins. With a murmur, Chen Ang's heart moved, brilliance flashed on the space ring, and a map appeared in his hand. After confirming the location, Chen Ang chose the direction, stepped out in one step, and ran away at full speed. At the same time, hints appeared in Chen Ang's eyes. "What are you looking at? Do you think there is a baby in this direction? Stop dreaming. A fierce beast is looking for food in this direction, kill it, you may be able to get a material, of course, I mean the kind of 500 or 600 yuan. This is right in front of you. It can only be said that you are lucky. There is a ruin that has just landed 1,000 meters away, and there are treasures in the ruins." Seeing one of the prompts, Chen Ang's eyes lit up. Then it exploded at a faster speed, and flew out like a bullet, and the figure disappeared in this area in a blink of an eye. Running all the way, Chen Ang quickly arrived at his destination. Looking up, there is indeed a ruin that has just fallen. But at this moment, there are two figures standing in front of the ruins. All are first-order talents. Perhaps hearing footsteps, the two talented people looked back. When they found Chen Ang, the two looked at each other, and one of them spoke directly. "This place is already ours, if you don't want to die, get out. I haven't seen your names written on this place." Chen Ang sneered, not only did not retreat, but also took the initiative to walk towards the two. Seeing this, a trace of killing intent flashed in the other person's eyes, and his expression became gloomy. "I don't know what to do, kill him." Done. He charged directly at Chen Ang, punched out, and there was a sizzling sound on his fist, entwined with thunder. This is also a great talent. It belongs to the element class and is called Enchanted Thunder, which can make one's attack like an enchantment, with thunder attached to enhance its power. The talent is good, but the people are too useless. Chen Ang looked indifferent and did not move at all in the face of the attack. Seeing that the attack was about to land on Chen Ang's chest, the man's eyes flashed with joy, and his heart was even more ecstatic. Sure enough, this age is obviously a talented person who has just awakened. He has no fighting consciousness, and he really doesn't know whether to live or die. He seemed to see Chen Ang being punched and killed by himself. But when his fist was about to hit Chen Ang, there was a swish. A cold light flashed across. The man's eyes widened, and he vaguely felt a sharp pain appear, but it disappeared instantly. What's going on? Dizzy. I seem to be out of energy. The last consciousness emerges. The man vaguely seemed to see his body, just above his neck, without his own face. At this moment, he seemed to realize something, but his eyes darkened and he completely lost consciousness. He waved his hand and shook off the blood on the dragon's claws. Chen Ang kicked the head that rolled to his feet, looked at the other person, and said indifferently, "Seize yourself, or shall I help you?" Gollum. The other swallowed saliva. Staring at Chen Ang, his body trembled. The dead person is his companion, and naturally knows the strength of the other party. But he didn't expect that the opponent would kill him with one blow. Let me go, he begged. Chen Ang shook his head. Seeing this, without any hesitation, he turned around abruptly and fled into the distance with a terrifying speed. Fear filled his heart, preventing him from staying to fight to the death. Seeing this, Chen Ang sneered. How could I let you go? When dealing with the enemy, Chen Ang has always cut grass and roots whenever he has the chance. Stepping out one step, Chen Ang chased up, faster. After a few breaths, he caught up with the man. The man also discovered this, and was frightened in his heart, but even more ferocious. Death to me, he turned back and roared, knowing that he could not escape, and chose to fight to the death. The fist blasted out and turned into a stone fist. Chen Ang's face didn't change at all, he just raised his dragon claw and punched it out. Boom! The collision erupted. The air is rolling. However, Chen Ang's power is even more terrifying. Die! A low voice. The man was blown away with a punch. Chen Ang chased up and swept with one paw. Tear claws. Puff. Blood splashes. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.